our first budget workshop to order and welcome those that are here. We appreciate you being here, and I ask Commissioner Tommy Langford to lead us into prayer and Sharon Langford to lead us in the pledge. If you please stand.
Pray with me, please. Most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this another beautiful day. Another opportunity that we've been allowed to live here on the face of this earth and to serve you and conduct business that's come before us. We ask, Father, that you be with us this morning as we look at our budget and guide our minds and hearts in the right direction. We all hope and pray that we have the right attitude, that our heart's in the right place to do what's best for Gilchrist County. We depend on you, Father, to help us while we're here on this earth and doing our job that we've been elected to do. We just ask, Father, that you would guide our minds and hearts in the right direction, and that we would look at the stuff that's been presented before us and analyze it and do the best job we can for the citizens of Gilchrist County. We ask, Father, that you be with our first responders and our firemen and our policemen and all those that put their life on the line each and every day, and our military has served throughout the world to keep us free. And we pray, Father, that we'll always be free and come and go as we please without fear from man. We ask, Father, that you be with Gilchrist County as a whole and the people who work here, and that we can keep it as safe as possible, and that we can keep it in a condition to where it'll honor and glorify you to the best of our ability. Go with us now as we go through this meeting. Be with each and every one of us in everyday walks of life. Extend your mercy and your kindness to us, that we might always depend on you and put you first in our hearts and in our lives. Go with us now. Continue to bless us in every way. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Address the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, again, thanks for those that are here in the audience and those that are watching on video. We are recording, right? I guess, who's going to lead us? Mr. Newton?
I believe Mr. Crosby has some information that he'd like to go ahead and start with.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I think for the last couple of years, I've started off with what I call the state of the county, so I thought I would go ahead and start off with that. Last year, I think this wound up taking about 45 minutes, so before everybody gets real nervous, I've tried to cut it down to about 15 this year. I didn't realize it was that long last year.
Do we have a copy of this that you're going over?
No, ma'am, but I will provide a copy to everyone when I'm through. So, sorry, I should have brought copies. I apologize. It's one of those documents that you work on every day because you think of something else and you keep working back and forth. But I'll, like I said, I'll try to keep it brief, but hit some key points and some achievements we've made this year and some projects we have coming. As far as for Gilchrist County, we continue to grow. Our population in the last 6 years has increased by 16.8%. So the predicted census this year is 20,845. As far as some of our courthouse updates, we have got the lighting. Most of it is updated to LED. We're still in the process of getting some blinds replaced after the new windows. We have, in the Supervisor of Elections office, we had some security upgrades that we had to meet. If we don't have those all met, we're at about 98%, so staff was able to help with a lot of those, and I think the last scoring on their security was very, very high compared to what it had been, and thanks Miss Lisa for working with us on that and some staff. We had replaced the gutters on the top part of the courthouse, and one of the reasons they were rusted through. But as that water runs down the brick, it starts to damage the brick and the mortar, so we've got that repaired and replaced. We will be doing interior painting. After pricing the painting, it was very expensive, in probably $18,000, $19,000. So we've worked around in what we will be doing. We'll be having inmate labor doing the painting to save quite a bit of money, and we'll just be buying the paint. So that'll bring that down to probably $1,500, $2,000 instead of the other number. And then we're going to get that step repaired as well. that's been torn up there for some time in the courthouse. As far as some of the accomplishments we made in maintenance this year, I don't know if you've noticed, but all of the precinct buildings were repainted. We changed the color a little bit just to spruce them up and let people realize that, yes, we do care about them and take care of them and try to have them looking nice for the elections. And also maintenance was played a big part in the cleaning up and upgrades at Otter Springs. We did most of that work in-house. As far as our fire EMS this year, we completed the new Trenton station. That is a station that can be occupied during storms. People do not have to move out. It's a hardened station. So that allows us to have staff in the north and the south end of the county. We hope to have our new ambulance in the next few months. They delivered the chassis out to Texas this past week. The squad truck has arrived. It will be back. It'll be in service in the next few weeks. And then we have a fire apparatus that we hope to have within the next 6 months. This is 3 new units, and the point I really want to make about these units, this is about $1.9 million worth of equipment. We have $1.7 million in grants to help pay, right around $1.7 million to help pay for all of this equipment. A lot of that's from appropriations and other grants. Detention and corrections is going well. The new jail seems to be coming along well. It's staying pretty much at capacity from my understanding as well, which has reduced our costs greatly. As you do know, we still do have cost for housing inmates in other facilities. And that's not always because the facility may be at capacity. It could be, I'll use the example, it's been in the news a lot. We had the situation at Jenny Springs a couple of years that had 2 brothers involved. Well, you can't house them in the same jail. So one has to be somewhere, one has to be somewhere else. So sometimes we have several of those situations where people can't be in the same place. And then sometimes you'll have the male pod overpopulated. Sometimes you'll have the female pod overpopulated. So you can't mix male and female either. So as far as community development goes, that's our permitting and all. Permits have slowed some, but they do continue to be steady. And a lot of it's additions, remodels, roofs, etc. We've issued since the October 24 to September 25 year, we issued 1,359 permits, with roughly 240 of them being new construction. So that has slowed some. Our code enforcement department continues to be busy. It continues to get busier with complaints coming in weekly. The 2024-2025 year, we had 100 new code violations were filed. That does not include our carryover violations from the previous year. What that resulted into, those 100 new violations, just so it kind of knows, that was 397 actions of inspections and follow-ups and 226 signs or mail-outs. So there's a lot of work that goes into those 100 violations. Emergency management, thankful there has been no storms last year, and it's been quiet this year, so we're not trying to say a whole lot about that because we don't want to jinx it. We're continuing to work with reimbursement. We still have some reimbursement coming from the previous storms from a few years ago. We completed the Sheriff's Office hardening with an HMPG grant that came through emergency management. We have a grant that the board approved recently for some portable mounted generators, and I think that was around $100,000. And we also have 2 grants moving forward right now. One is for a hardened dispatch center, and one is for a hardened fire station. We're just in the first phases of those. We don't know if we'll get them or not, but we did make it through the first phase. Those would be 100% funded as well if we get those. And of course, EM always provides CPR training for school staff, nursing, home staff, county staff, along with holding classes for the public. 911 dispatch, Ms. Benita's here. She's done a great job with that. I think the new radio system that we put in a few years back has really helped with the dispatch and communication. From time to time, we still have a little issues, but we are able to work through those. And of course, technology continues to change, and they do a great job with that. Just real quick on the communications, the public radio system is in all of our agencies, fire EMS, sheriff office, schools. campuses, buses, along with several, our board departments. So it is good to know. We did have a situation that did not turn out. Fortunately, it turned out for the better side in Bell a little while back, reported of someone on campus with a gun. The great thing about that was we were able to communicate with staff and everyone else due to that radio system. So we're glad that that turned out not to be anything, but it was a good training and a situation. And again, just to know that was 100% funded. Solid waste, which we have talked about a lot recently. In 2023-2024 county year, trash has increased 127 tons a month since the 23-24. So to date, just in those few years, we've increased 127 tons a month again. October 24 through September 2025, we had an average of 529 tons a month. Currently this year, we're averaging 570 tons a month. So trash does not seem to get less, it seems to get more and more. As y'all know, we're talking about a site selection. This is something that we're going to have to do pretty soon. We have a meeting scheduled for August the 3rd. The site is estimated to cost around $7 million with $4.2 million in a grant as well. And that has been budgeted for. The outline sites are still working out great. Us hauling directly to New River is, of course, still a big savings. Just so everyone is aware, we did have a cost per ton at New River. It went from $32 to $36.92. That was effective June of 2026. That was part of our contractual agreement. So we're going to have a little more costs there in dumping trash, and we have more trash. Our extension office, as everyone knows, we have a new facility that's been completing. Staff has moved in. They're still trying to get set up and arranged, but they are working from there. They have phones, they have internet, we have connected with the IFAS. So all of that has been taken care of. Soon to be announced will be the date for a ribbon cutting for this. Jessica's working on that now. That cost of construction turned out to be $1.6 million, with $1,250,000 of that being grant funded. This is going to be, as y'all know, this is going to be a great facility. If you haven't had a chance to visit it, I would encourage you to just go ahead and stop by and walk through. Has a great large meeting area, storage area, and be able to provide for our 4-H programs and a lot of meetings for farming, for fertilizing and different applications. As far as our road department goes, the several pieces of new equipment that's been bought over the last few years has been tremendous to the assets of the operation. And one of the main things is just due to dependability and not breaking down as much, and a lot saving repair cost. As everyone knows, approximately 6 miles of roads was chipped and sealed. We're in the process of finishing that up. Weather permitting this week, that'll be swept and fog sealed. I have not received any complaints on the chip seal, other than the people who would rather it been a dirt road, and I think that was 2, one on one road and one on another, but it wasn't a complaint about the work, it's just they preferred to have dirt. In this year's budget, we do have another additional $500,000 budgeted if we move forward with that, to look at some additional roads as for that goes. So just a note that everybody seems like we have 330 miles of lime, rock, and dirt roads still. That's deducting the chip and seal roads. So that comes up to about 825 miles that you have to grade when we make a complete circle because of the multiple trips. Our grant projects right now. Currently, Northeast 30th Dixie grade is in the process. Hopefully the electrical will be updated, will be relocated this month, and then they can start scheduling the construction. County Road 339 should be starting anytime for the repavement of it. All the culverts are in. Programmed in the system, in the FDOT programs, they have County Road 337, the Addie Jones one part, from 26th to 110th or 70th. To be repaved. They'll also replace culverts and all that needs to be replaced. Under review is County Road 342 from 341 to 129. Also Southwest 10th Street from 341 to 129. Recently completed is County Road 138 from 129 to State Road 47. If you haven't traveled that road, you're up that way, it's a very nice road. It turned out really nice. A lot of the improvements and a lot of the changes they made actually seems to make the road flow safer and feel more safer than what it used to. Northwest 30th and 20th, which was what a lot of people refer to as Gay Roads, was completed this year, and that really made a nice completion from 129 to 340 as well. TDC continues to promote the counties and parks. The estimated income this year is around $195,000. We do look for that to increase quite a bit. With Otter Springs, with the county taking over Otter Springs, and Cypress Springs, the old Ellie Race, which is Cypress and Springs RV Resort. Now, those two facilities probably haven't reported or collected any TDC tax in 12 to 16 months. So now that that money is coming in, you'll see that raising as well. Animal control continues to increase with calls. This year, since October, we've had 443 animals pass through the shelter in 9 months. We continue to use some of the outlying larger areas for adoptions. We also have a formal adoption program at the shelter now, and we continue to purchase the bulk feed. It's $50, and the last it was $50, and you could, however much you could load in whatever vehicle you had was what cost $50. So we try to be sure we carry the largest vehicle we have every time we go. And then, of course, we still use Gainesville for a lot of free vet services at the University of Florida. The library continues to be very busy. From January to June of this year they've had 36,040 patrons come through. That's an average of a little over 6,000 a month, with a circulation of adult and youth material of almost 23,000 a month, computer and Wi-Fi use of almost 4,000 a month, and program attendance is almost 4,700 a month. And you got to remember, these numbers do not include the summer, and the summer is probably the busiest time at the library. Otter Springs, the county resumed operations February the 16th of this year. The park was required to be closed until May and was reopened in May. Since reopening, the park has continued to grow the attendance both in camping and daily spring requests. This past couple of weekends, 3 weekends, we have almost reached capacity at Otter Springs. On the spring side, on the day pass people coming in. We were almost completely booked at the 4th of July holiday, and we have a lot of guests. And the most remarkable part there now, and I've been out there myself a couple of times when guests there and stop and ask them, and luckily I've been able to talk to a lot of the guests that were coming in, and all they can do is compliment us on the upgrades, the changes, and said they will definitely be returning to Otter Springs annually. So that's all great.
Bobby, what's the capacity at Otter and Hart?
At Otter, about 200. So you kind of got to look to see how many campers you have and balance between the campers and Otter. At Hart, roughly 1,000. So if your park is full, you got to figure you got 250 people there. So you have about 700 coming in the gate. Normally we do not count family reunions because a lot of the family reunions, maybe half or less, attend the Springs or go to the Springs. They just come in for the reunions. So usually about around 1,000 people.
Yeah, I was at Hart for a family reunion on Saturday, and I think it was probably at capacity by noon.
Yeah. So, but it books up quick. So, that's pretty much all departments. We got a lot of departments doing a lot of great things. you know, one of the things I just want to be, and I know with our situation going on, the board is very aware and very concerned with this, but, you know, it's important for us to try to provide pay increases to county employees. You know, this helps us with the competitive pay ranges, you know, and inflation, it's always a struggle. But competitive rates increase the longevity of our staff, and we have some great staff, and the competitiveness within the hiring process when we need to try to hire someone is too, as far as the quality of our personnel. As a final statement, just, you know, as our county demands continue to increase with additional new buildings and areas to maintain, county staff is and has stepped up to take on the additional requirements. No additional staff are requested within the budget. With the unknowns of the outcoming of the property tax revenues until November, to plan for future expenses is a challenge. And the county commission departments will continue to provide the same standards of performance within the 26-27 budget without any additional people. So just thank you for allowing me to provide this report. I may have generated some questions. If you have any questions now or later, I'll be happy to try to answer those. If I don't have the answer immediately, we will find it.
Yeah, we appreciate the summary and the accomplishment, kind of looking back, and a lot has happened over the last year, and that doesn't happen without good staff and good leaders at department heads, and they attract good folks and keep good folks. And how many, any idea on total grants? I know in the past several years it's been around 20 million, or what, I don't know what the number is now, but.
Well, we probably went back to the last 3 or 4 million. I mean, 3 or 4 years, not million. 3 or 4 years. I would have to say somewhere in the 35 million or so.
Yeah,
Seemed like we had almost, we had a little over 20 million in grants last year that we were finishing up. 138 along with 6 million. You got 2 million out here. You've got another 2.5 million. You had 1 million, 2 million. Yeah, probably somewhere around 30 million, 35. Does that number sound about right over the last 2 or 3 years?
I mean, just in the budget book alone, you've got 10 million in just state grants. That's between this year and last year.
Yeah.
So.
And last year we had more, we had 20 million in there last year, which a few of those are, I think, one of those is maybe a carryover, one or two?
They are, but the actual received for this year and last year is $10 million long.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I was gonna, just as you're going through that, you know, and we're talking about our budget and our philosophy on our budget, you know, one approach could be you spend as little as you can. And in the short term, that's good for all of us. In the long term, particularly for our kids and our grandkids, it's not a good thing. And so you got to balance between saving today and trying to invest in the future. And so you look at the new jail, or these roads, or the county extension office, or, you know, some of these things Bobby just talked about. You know, our approach could be, let's spend less. And we, again, all of us want to spend as least that we can, but also you got to think about the future. And I think that's what we've tried to balance with the board.
If you don't maintain what you got, it costs you a whole lot more in the future.
Yeah.
I will say this about, just because it's fresh too, the chip and seal. There's 4 of those roads, and even the 5th one, but it's just a little shorter. We don't get got a lot of calls on it, but not as many. But there's 4 of those roads with the rain showers that we've had over the last couple of weeks, just the quick rain showers like this weekend and all. You would have had graders on those roads this morning, or even maybe on the weekend, trying to repair those. You haven't received a single call on all those chip and seal, those particular chip and seal roads. So what that means is those graders can go and work on what they need to continue working on, or something else.
How many years do they say that's gonna last, that chip and seal?
You know, we saw roads that were over 10 years old that looked really, really good. We saw some that was 7 or 8 that still looked good but had a few patches for potholes. It's really going to depend on the traffic, the amount of traffic. you know, the amount will make a difference, but if it's mainly all automobiles or just standard weight cars doing most of the traveling, then it's gonna be a lot less wear than if you got heavy equipment twisting and turning on it. But, you know, you can look at a virgin paved road at a stop sign where a bunch of semis come up to all the time, and you can see that pavement actually slipping too. But I feel like our average is gonna be 10 to 12 years.
So how do you, do we re-chip and seal that? I mean, how do you repair that, is my
Well,
question.
you can put the same patch material, coal patch that we use to repair a regular asphalt road. You can use it to repair it as well.
Okay.
And the thing is getting to it quick. Don't let it keep beating out and beating out. They have told us they can actually come back and repair. They can chip seal over those roads as well. So, you know, in the future, it may be less to go in and chip seal over a chip seal road, because we're not gonna have to go and do a lot of the prep work, and all you would do, fill in the holes and roll it out and sweep it and do it again. So
I think the average is 10, like you said, about 10 or 12. When we was doing the Spring Ridge up there, I visited several other counties, and they had chip and seal. Some of them, it depends on the base, it depends on the type of soil, it depends on a lot of, traffic has a lot to do with it. But one road up there we visited was 23 years old, and it was still in good shape. It just happened to be in a good spot and done a real good job. So I think if we get 10 or 12 years out of them, most of them it's going to be still in pretty good shape. And of course, we have some alternative to do something different. But I'm very pleased with what we got so far. I was talking to Rodney the other day, and he said the worst enemy will be like a heavy equipment or something trying to turn around in the road and wearing a hole in it. He's already had to fix some of the base, not the actual chip and seal, but the base because of that. So it depends on the area and the type of soil and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's going to be a great job myself.
I will say this, Asphalt Solutions, who did the work for us, the guy that actually does the field work, putting down the rock and all the foreman, he did say this is some of the best. He said this may be the best roads as far as the base went that they've ever applied material to, as far as the crowning of the road, the smoothness of the road, and the compaction of the road. He said they couldn't believe how good a job that had been done.
I'd like to see us, because I got a lot of compliments whenever we did add lime rock and we did like a crown on these roads.
Zipper ripper?
Before we did this millings, I would like for us to get on some of these lime rock roads that we have a lot of issues on and a lot of complaints on, and put a lot of lime rock, use the zipper, and get those up to par with lime rock, because I heard a lot of good.
Rodney told me he was going to do more of that.
Yeah, we need to, because once they did that some I know, you know, my two roads were really good after they did the lime rock. I mean, it's better now with the chip and seal, but I did get a lot of compliments just how the lime rock road was.
I did too. The road
I'd like
they did down by
for us
my
to do
house,
that
just
more.
the lime rock road. Before they put the chip and seal on it, the lime rock they put down was so good and so smooth. It was almost like a new road there.
We need to do that with more of our dirt roads.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Langford, in that, I think they've done 3. They did 1 or 2 before the chip and seal. They've done 1 since the chip and seal, but chip and seal, and they actually have a list right now of the roads that they're planning on doing, just like you were saying, because they found out.
Can we get a list of those roads
Sure.
when they're doing, and like at each meeting, so we know,
Yeah.
you know, what roads they're doing that to? That way we kind of are aware. That way we can tell.
Update the public.
Update, the public.
And we are using the asphalt, I mean, the lime rock ripper or zipper, whatever you want to call it.
It's a regular tool.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it's used every day, but it's, anytime we're working on the road anymore, those guys they've turned that machine into art operating it.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else from Mr. Crosby before we go to Mr. Newton? Nope. Yes, sir.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm going to apologize up front. I've got a lot to go over. We've got 2 sessions this week. The second is going to be tomorrow at 5. Today I'm going to cover big picture items, the economy, a snapshot of the past 2 years. We're going to look at the new property tax laws. We're going to look at our revenue and our tax rate, and then we're going to hear about individual budget requests. Obviously, nothing gets voted on today. This is a workshop. So my job is just to give you what you need to evaluate budget requests and consider the tax rate. Next slide. So let's start with the state before we get into Gilchrist. The short version, Florida's economy is still growing. It's just slowing down. It's slower than it was. State forecasters expect growth to ease from about 3.2% down towards 2%. The extra tax money that came in above forecast the last few years is starting to level off. And not really trying to scare anybody, but I'm just saying that we should plan for steady and not another boom. This information does come from the University of Central Florida forecast. Next slide. Same idea, is just that growth is slowing, but nothing's falling apart. But for us, the point is that things are still solid, but the slowdown shows up in the same year voters decide a big property tax question in November. And that's why we have to be careful with the decisions made this year. Next slide. So our local numbers, looking at Gilchrist, unemployment is at 4.9%, which is down slightly, but higher than the state overall. Population is just under 20,000 and growing slowly. Housing permits are starting to slow down. The chamber scorecard is mixed. The poverty rate and graduation rate is improving, but children in poverty and third grade reading levels are heading the wrong direction. I just keep these in front of you because they reflect the demand side of what we have to do. Next slide. So this is our starting point, and it is a good one, but ad valorem is about half of our general fund operating revenue. So a tax-based cut hits the general fund first. Then it limits the ability to assist secondary funds like fire, road, EMS, and solid waste. Next slide. So as county comptroller, I think of the county budget as both a roadmap and a set of guardrails. At the beginning of the fiscal year, the budget maps out where the county plans to go, how we expect to get there, and how public funds will be used along the way. The guardrails are state law, county policy, available revenues, and spending limits. They help keep us on a responsible and lawful course. However, a budget is based on the best information available when it is adopted. During the year, revenues may come in higher or lower than expected. Emergencies may arise. Projects may be delayed, and community needs may change. When we reach the end of the fiscal year and look back, we may find that we arrived at our intended destination, we provided essential services, and meeting the county's obligations. But the actual financial results typically differ from the map that we drew at the beginning. My role is to track those differences, ensure the county remains within its guardrails, and clearly explain how and why the final results changed. The following graphs are going to show the board where the general fund and major special funds currently stand for fiscal year 2026. The dark blue bar is going to represent the adopted budget, while the red bar will show our projected year-end results as of September 30th, 2026. All projections are coming directly from our final budget book. So a red bar below the blue bar means we expect to spend or collect less than budgeted. A red bar above the blue bar means we expect to exceed the budgeted amount. Going on to the next slide. So this is the big picture for general fund money coming in. Ad valorem taxes are property taxes, the tax base on the value of land and buildings. That's our single largest local source. The projection for property tax is a little bit under budget, which is normal because we budget the full roll and always leave room for a few dollars that come in late or not at all. The state and federal grants bar drops the most in the projection. That's not a loss, that's just grants. Because they're reimbursed money, we only draw as we bill for the project. So the timing of those projects moves the bar around. State shared revenues and sales taxes are projected to come in a little stronger than budget, which is good news.
So you think our grants are going to be less, a lot less?
Well, it's based on that. I mean, that's what we budgeted for projects and what we're actually getting completed year to date. So that's the projection for 2026.
And some of those can bleed over into the next year.
Absolutely. Anything that's not completed
Right.
and funded
Won't show up
this year, it'll show up next year.
Right. Okay.
So it's just that specific year, that snapshot, this is what we projected we would receive in grant funds, and that's what we actually
I just know
intend
how
to
heavy
receive.
we depend on grants.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not saying that we're not getting the
Right,
grant.
I understand.
Yeah, it's just saying that
It could be spread out.
we're not receiving the revenues for that.
Right.
But typically, that also means you're not seeing the expense.
Right.
So, you know, either a project's delayed, it is not started,
Right.
and rolls to the next year, and once that project is completed, it gets funded.
Right.
Todd, an example of that could be like County Road 339 was budgeted maybe one budget year, it bleeds over to the next budget year.
Correct.
We don't spend it, we don't ask for reimbursement.
That's
That's
correct.
the way it works.
Yeah, so that's when the funds are actually received. It hits our revenues.
Right.
We budget it because we anticipate that we may actually have the project, but if the project doesn't start and have an expense, we don't request the reimbursement. So that is 2026. The next slide reflects 2025. These are the final fiscal year 2025 general fund revenue results. And unlike the fiscal year 2026 projections, these figures show what was actually collected through September 30th, 2025. So the differences demonstrate why an adopted budget should be viewed as a well-informed plan, but not a guarantee of the final work. Next slide.
They mirror each other though. I mean, everything that's in 26, 25 did the same thing. Things that were
Correct.
high were high and things that were low. So
Correct.
it mirrored the one above it.
So next slide shows the fiscal year 2025 revenue mix. It provides a useful context for evaluating the 2026 projection and helps us see which sources were dependable and which were more sensitive to timing or potentially economic condition. The view shows the mix of general fund revenues rather than only the dollar amounts. Property taxes remain the foundation of the fund, but the county also depends on state shared revenues, sales and fuels tax, grants, service charges, and interest. So on the left side, you see this is what we budgeted for. You see that state and federal grants was 40% of our revenues, but in reality, in 2025, only 19% was actually received. So ad valorem ends up being a larger percentage of our actual revenues that we use. So you see it started out at 34, but in reality, it was 42% of our budget was what was actually received. Next slide. So general government was budgeted at a little over $2 million for 2026 and is projected to finish about $52,000 or 2.5% under budget. The department is currently tracking very close to plan. Again, this is a projection, so it is subject to change. Next slide. This is the final fiscal year 2025 results for general government. It shows where personnel, operating capital, and debt service revenue actually landed. I use this completed year as a context when determining the projection, whether or not it lines up with how we actually ended up for the prior year. Next slide. This is courthouse operations. This department is on pace to come in under budget as a projection for 2026. So a favorable variance does not automatically represent permanent savings. Timing and one-time costs must be reviewed before looking at reducing a future budget. Next slide. These are the final 2025 courthouse operation costs. The comparison shows the difference between the approved spending plan and actual year-end activity. It gives you a baseline for assessing current and future facility needs. Next slide. In other building operations, we're projected to finish about $29,000 or 8% above the fiscal year 2026 budget. So this is an area that we'll need to watch through the year. Graph identifies the variance, but the underlying transaction should be reviewed before drawing conclusions about whether the increase is recurring. Next slide. So this slide presents the final 2025 other building operations results. As you can see, building costs can vary with repairs and utilities, insurance, and the timing of maintenance. The actual results help us evaluate whether the variance in 2026 reflects a continuing cost pressure. Next slide. Community development is projected at approximately $634,000. It's about $200,000 above budget. This is a material variance and warrants attention. The board should focus on the specific cost categories and funding sources behind the increase before making decisions for 2027. Next slide. These are the final 2025 community development expenditures. The prior year actuals provide a factual baseline, but they should not be treated as the only predictor of 2026 because staffing, projects, and operating needs may change from year to year. Next slide. Code enforcement is projected at approximately $134,000, which is about $48,000 above budget. The percentage is significant partly because this is a relatively small department, and we should evaluate the dollar variance, the reason for it, and whether it is one-time or recurring. Next slide. So this is the completed fiscal year 2025 code enforcement record. It shows the actual balance between personnel and operating costs and gives the board context for the current projection. Fiscal year 2026 results may still differ from today's estimates. Next slide. Emergency management is projected to finish around about $68,000 under budget. Some emergency management expenditures depend on events and projects and grants and reimbursement timing. An under-budget projection should be interpreted carefully and not assumed to be a permanent reduction in need. Next slide. So these are fiscal year 2025 emergency management results, and as you can see, the function can change quickly when an emergency occurs. So the prior year actuals are informative, but doesn't necessarily eliminate the need for adequate readiness and contingency planning. Next slide. Animal control is projected to finish approximately $28,000 under budget. The current estimate indicates spending is within their approved plan, and we'll continue to monitor personnel, operating, and capital needs through the rest of the year. Next slide. This is the final 2025 animal control comparison. It shows what was actually spent to provide the service and helps place the 2026 projection in context. Service demand may vary, so one year's results may not necessarily be used alone to set the next budget. Next slide.
Do y'all have one with red? Because I'm having a hard time with seeing these numbers in yellow. I mean, I can see the ones with black, but I think those.
I'm not sure why those came out in yellow.
Are y'all's in yellow?
No, red's not yellow.
Yeah,
Maybe.
my whole thing, I'm having,
I think it was probably a printer problem.
okay.
So we can get you that.
Because I'm having a hard
You got yellow too, don't you?
Yeah, it's hard to
Mine are blue and
see. Are you
red.
having a hard time seeing those numbers in yellow? Yeah, I am too.
Okay.
All right, thank
We'll
you.
get you one with red.
Not red. That's weird.
So the next item is the library. It's projected to finish about $91,000 under budget. Before treating that amount as an ongoing savings, we should determine whether it reflects vacancies, delayed purchases, or costs that will occur later. This projection shows timing as of today and not necessarily reduced long-term service needs. So for 2025, these are the final 2025 library expenditures. The actual results show the completed spending pattern across personnel, operations, and capital. That history helps us test the reasonableness of 2026 projection and the 2027 request. Next slide. Heart Springs is projected to finish approximately $140,000 under budget. Because this operation includes personnel, operating costs, and capital needs, the reason for the variance matters. As you can see, we haven't spent nearly what was budgeted in capital, and so that's the reason that it's quite under budget. So we should not consider that true savings, but it's just delayed work.
So we're ahead 140 or in the whole 140?
Well, you're ahead, but it's because the project hasn't been expended. So that would be the new campground
Yes.
expenses
Yeah.
haven't been realized yet.
Right,
So
like
it's-
on the next page, your capital goes down almost to nothing.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Because it
Prior-
hadn't been spent yet.
Absolutely. So in fiscal year 2025, it shows where the operation actually ended after a full year of activity. Again, visitor demand, repairs, weather, and project timing can cause results to differ from the original budget. So it's something always to keep in mind with Hart in particular. So we're going to move into special revenue and enterprise funds, and we're going to start with the fire fund. And these funds work differently than the general fund. They're supported by their own dedicated revenue, like assessment and fees, instead of general tax dollars. That means that each fund needs to be looked at on its own. Next slide. The fire fund revenue is driven primarily by the fire special assessment. Smaller revenue categories provide limited flexibility. And when reviewing this fund, the key question is whether recurring assessment revenue is sufficient to support the recurring fire service costs. Next slide. So in 2025, the actual results for what the fund collected. So this completed year helps us evaluate the reliability of the revenue projections. Next slide. So these two pie charts make one point. The fire fund lives or dies on the special assessment. About 98% of the money comes directly from the assessment. So basically that's where the funds come from. If the assessment ever falls short, it moves to the general fund to assist with that. And that's why setting a correct assessment matters every year. Next slide.
That would say our fire assessment is probably right on them, because if it were any more, if we put any more, we would probably be in excess. If we went any less, that pie would be a lot bigger that we'd be required to take out of our general budget. So would you say our fire assessment rate now is right where it should be?
Well, I mean, I think, when you look at the fund balance, I think that's where you understand the difference. So, this is basically showing where your revenues are coming from, not necessarily whether or not they're sufficient or are in excess.
Okay.
So we'll actually get into that a little bit as well. Go ahead and go 2 slides down. So this slide compares the fiscal year fire fund expenditure budget with the projection by category. So you can see that the projection is currently below, adopted expenditures below the actual budget for 2026. So this is our actual projection for this year. Next slide. This is the fiscal year 2025 expenditures, and it shows what was actually spent and how it was distributed. So capital purchases and mutual aid activity can make year-to-year comparisons uneven. Next slide. So this is, for 2026, this is budget versus projection. So for 2026, the revenue is projected about $25,000 above budget, while your expenditures are projected about $168,000 below budget. So that creates a more favorable year-end position than originally planned. It's still a projection and should not be treated as available recurring money until the year's over. Next slide. In 2025, the actual fire revenue was below budget, and actual expenditures were also below budget. So the final relationship between the two is important to understand. You definitely want to be at your revenue expenses or at your revenue estimates, but you definitely would like to be at or below your expenditures. In this case, the revenues did come in above the expenditures, and both were actually below budget. So, next slide. So moving on to the road or the transportation fund. So the single biggest piece is the transfer from the general fund. It's almost $1.5 million for 2026. So basically what this is saying is that the road fund can't pay for itself on the gas taxes alone. The general fund has to help carry it. The state revenue sources are the gas and fuel taxes that the state shares with us. And other revenue is small permits, service charges, and interest. Debt proceeds are zero this year because we're not borrowing for any equipment. And this projection tracks the budget closely as far as the state money and the transfer.
But the road department is a big department as far as activity, employees, materials, equipment, all that kind of stuff.
Correct.
So it seems like every year we have to help them out because we don't get enough gas taxes. The reason we don't get enough gas tax, we don't have enough filling stations, enough pumps to collect it.
Correct.
So it's always probably always gonna be that way until we get a more source of revenue to help fund the road department.
Correct.
Because the road department is a big department. It covers the whole county.
Absolutely. So, given that, in a minute, we're actually going to talk about some potential revenue sources for road.
Todd, kind of related to that, I wonder how we compare to other smaller counties.
You can't, it's tough to compare county to county because it's dependent on your roads. So Hamilton County, for instance, Hamilton County could fund their entire county budget off of road taxes if they were able to. They get massive amounts of revenues for fuel tax. They have an interstate that comes through their county. And so they have some large, fueling facilities that are off the interstate. And so it's hard to compare, it's not really an apple and apple just because they're small county.
Right.
It's really dependent on what your revenue sources are for fuel. So if we had a larger road coming through and a truck stop, then that revenue is going to increase dramatically.
Oh, yeah.
Jefferson County is probably another good one. They have an interstate that comes through. It's kind of the same thing on traffic, traffic tickets. They have massive amounts of traffic tickets because they have an interstate coming through. So it's going to be different based on that. So you take a small county that's without a major interstate or a major thoroughfare, they're probably going to be more comparable to what we are as far as revenues.
So you need a Buc-ee's.
A Buc-ee's would change your world, but it's also changed your dynamics
Those
in
things
the
are
county.
huge. They just
They
put one
are.
up at, on the Interstate 95 up there at, I forget, Brunswick.
Yeah.
And it's like humongous.
Yes, yes.
So if the property tax amendment passes in November, this might be an area that, if we're transferring that amount, because we think that's one of our priorities, we
Yes.
might not be able to do that in the future.
Correct. Absolutely. And we'll talk about that more in just a second.
Right.
So these are the 2025 road department revenues. Actual results show the amount received from each source and provide context for 2026 estimates. But as you can see, they came in fairly close to budget on just about everything. Next slide. So this is the same money, it's just shown as a share. The general fund transfer and the state fuel taxes together make up almost the entire pie. And as you can see, it leans on the general fund again, just to stay whole. Without it, you'd have a drastically different road department. Next slide. So the 2025 revenue mix shows the same basic dependence on the general fund support and the state transportation revenues. The difference is that in 2025, we did receive some debt that helped offset or supplement your revenues. So in 2026, we did not have that, but in 2025, you can see that debt was actually utilized in order to fund that particular year. Next slide. So the road department expenditures are projected below budget overall for 2026. Personnel and operating costs support routine service delivery, while your capital spending depends heavily on project schedules and equipment needs. Capital variance may reflect timing rather than a canceled need. Next slide. So these are the 2025 road department expenditures. The completed results show where routine operations and capital activity actually landed. Again, this is useful context, but the road program can change substantially based on projects and available funding. Next slide. So the whole road fund on one screen, you've got Operating money in on the left side, and revenue is projected slightly above budget, and expenditures are on the right side, and they show slightly below. So all in all, the fund is in good operating shape for this year. Next slide. In 2025, the actual road department revenue was above budget, and actual expenditures were also below budget. So that improves your year-end position, and again, part of the difference can be related to project timing. Next slide. EMS revenue is supported mainly by the EMS property tax levy, the MSTU, and from ambulance fees. Smaller intergovernmental and miscellaneous sources are also part of the EMS revenue budget. Ambulance fee collections depend on service volume, the payer mix, billing, and collection timing. So they all require close monitoring. Next slide. So these are the final 2025 EMS revenues, and the actual results show how the property tax levy and ambulance collections performed over this completed year. This history helps us evaluate whether the 2026 revenue assumptions are realistic. Next slide. The fiscal year 2026 revenue mix shows two primary sources. Again, the EMS tax and the ambulance fees. Neither source alone supports the entire operation, but maintaining both a stable tax base and effective billing and collection practices is important for the fund's sustainability, so both need to stay healthy. Next slide. The 2025 actual revenue mix confirms the same two-source structure. The relative share can shift based on collections and activity, but the fund remains dependent on both the property tax revenue and the collections of service charges. Next slide. For 2026, EMS expenditures are projected above budget overall, with the largest costs in personnel and operations. Because EMS is a continuous public safety service, cost pressures may include staffing, medical supplies, vehicles, fuel, and service demand. The specific drivers should be reviewed as we develop the fiscal year 2027. And this fund is the one that we've been watching closely on the expense side. Again, this is still a projection that can shift by year end. Next slide. So these are the 2025 actual EMS expenditures. This comparison shows the completed cost of personnel, operations, and capital. It provides a baseline, but emergency service costs can change quickly with staffing and equipment needs. Next slide. For 2026, EMS revenue is projected about $121,000 above budget, while expenditures are projected about $180,000 above budget. So revenue growth helps offset the higher costs, but expenditures are increasing a little more. So we have to continue to monitor the net effect on the fund balance throughout the year end. Next slide. In 2025, actual EMS revenues and expenditures were both below budget. Actual revenue remained higher than actual expenditures, which supported the fund's year-end position. The fiscal year 2026 projection should be evaluated separately because the current cost pattern is different. So moving on to solid waste. Solid waste revenue comes mainly from special assessments, followed by charges for service, and then smaller intergovernmental and miscellaneous sources. The assessment provides the stable base, while service charges can vary with activity and collections. Next slide. These are the final 2025 actual solid waste revenues. The actual results show how assessments and service charges performed over the full year. This provides a practical benchmark for the 2026 projection. Next slide. So again, this is a picture of the 2026 solid waste revenues. The actual results show how assessments and service charges performed over a completed year. As you can see, the vast majority is from the solid waste special assessment. Next slide. Again, just showing the 2025 budgeted versus actual for 2025. Next slide. So this is the projected solid waste expenditures, and they're projected mostly below budget overall. Operating costs are the largest component, but reflect the ongoing cost of providing and disposing of solid waste. Capital spending should be reviewed for delayed purchases and projects that may carry forward. Next slide.
Thank you so much.
So these are the 2025 solid waste actual expenditures, and so as you can see, personnel was slightly above budget, but operating came in under budget. Next slide. So for fiscal year 2026, solid waste revenue is projected about $126,000 above budget, and expenditures are about $29,000 below budget. So this produces a favorable projected year-end result, and we should confirm that outstanding obligations before considering the effect on available fund balance. Next slide. So in 2025, actual solid waste revenue exceeded budget, and actual expenditures were also below budget. The completed year improved the fund's position. It's a useful benchmark, but it does not necessarily remove the need to plan for future equipment, disposal, and operating costs, especially considering new facilities that are in discussion now. So now we're going to shift gears. So 3 different things that we're looking at here. Amendment 3 is a question for voters in November. It does nothing unless it passes with 60% of the vote. Senate Bill 4F is already law, and it changes how we set our tax rate for this year. And then House Bill 1329 is also law, but it affects next year's process. We have to plan around all 3, and we're going to look deeper at all 3 items. Next slide. So here are the mechanics of Amendment 3. The homestead exemption would step up to $150,000 in 2027, and then to $250,000 in 2028. The non-homestead cap would reduce to 5% from 10%, and school taxes are untouched. Statewide, the analysis puts the revenue reductions in the billions of dollars. So there is currently a Levy County suit over the ballot wording, but even if that wins, the measure does stay on the ballot. Everything on this slide is factual disclosure, subject to Florida Statutes 106.113. Again, we're not advocating anything here. We're just strictly pushing out to voters factual information, and we cannot do anything with public funds. Next slide. So again, same measure with the statewide fiscal information. Again, by 31-32, it's estimated to be somewhere around $12 billion statewide if this were to go into place. Again, nothing changes until voters actually approve this. Next slide. So what does it mean for Gilchrist County? So these are the numbers that matter for us. The Florida Association of Counties analysis puts our estimated ad valorem loss at about $2.62 million in the first year and $4.1 million in year 2. That would be roughly 31% of our current taxing levy by 2028-29.
And at this time, we don't know if we're going to get like grants or anything, or?
At this point, there is no state backfill. This does not provide any provisions for anything other than the increase in ad valorem homestead exemption. So again, 2 things that we got to hold on to. The number is going to grow as the exemption steps up, and about 1/5 of the hit actually comes from the non-homestead cap. So it's not just the homestead that affects us. Again, no action is needed today, and this is contingent upon the vote in November. Again, this is the FAC estimate, but it did align very closely with what the property appraiser provided as his estimate. Next slide. So the plain English version, first year exposure, $2.62 million, about 1/5 of our levy. Second year, $4.1 million, So by year 2, we would recognize a 31% decrease in ad valorem revenue. So the important point, as we just mentioned, there is no fiscally constrained carve-out in the amendment. There is no public safety guarantee. It only requires that ad valorem be spent on state-designated purchases or purposes. So if this passes, Board, you're the ones that's going to decide which discretionary services are cut. You are the ones that are going to decide reductions in services. Note, there is no fail-safe in place to cover new mandates or for things that are out of your control. Things like insurance increases, FRS increases, anything that you can't necessarily control. There's no provision to allow for any of that. So again, on compliance, because this measure currently has a ballot number, we cannot spend any public dollars urging people to vote yes or no on this. So what we're doing is a factual analysis at a public meeting, and that is expressly allowed. Also, Senate Bill 4F does require the property appraiser to mail an amendment notice with the trim. So that will actually be required. Again, no action today. This is contingent on November. And again, this is just factual disclosure under Florida Statute 106-113.
So that mail-in note with the trim notice would say, if it don't pass, this is what you pay. If it does pass, this is what you pay? It will give them a comparison?
I don't know exactly what the I think it's going to be what the language is
In the amendment?
in the
What you're
amendment.
voting on?
I don't think it's going to address your actual
Numbers.
individually. I think it's just going to address what the ballot.
Because it's not going to affect this budget coming up. It's going to affect the
Correct.
next year's budget.
The following year.
So we
I
can't
would-
give them, so we don't,
Well, I'd rather them address the amendment itself because that's what they're voting on. If you show them numbers, they're gonna light up their eyes.
Sure.
but we got to be prepared.
Oh, yeah,
because,
no
you know,
doubt. It's coming.
I think it's probably going to end up passing, so.
So next slide.
Todd, kind of related to the trim notice though, I'm not even sure we would want to, but would we want to include some, like this slide shows, a reduction for Gilchrist County? And eventually there'll be some reduction in overall budget. Can we provide any factual information through that or not?
I'd have to look into that, to be honest.
Probably
I'm
not.
assuming that the property appraiser has been given specific instructions on what they're going to include. I haven't seen the language on that, to be honest. So,
Well, I mentioned to you, some counties I'm hearing are looking at and passing a budget based on current revenue and then passing another budget based on this reduction in revenue and just showing the difference in what impact it could, what departments and what services it could impact.
well, I'm glad you asked.
Okay. You're getting there?
So the next slide, so back in March, we had a revenue workshop, and it was kind of trying to address this potential looming issue. So on your screen, actually going back. So this is a map of all the general funds, all items, all departments that the general fund ad valorem touches. So this is all of your mandatory and discretionary side by side. So I'm going to use it to show you the discretionary buckets on the next slides. Again, special assessments, fire and solid waste are funded separately, and they're not included on this slide. Next slide. So the left side is where the money comes from, and the right side is where the money goes. The three discretionary buckets would be community amenities, public services, and transfers. Totals just over $3.8 million. So that's the money that you'd have the most room to adjust if Amendment 3 forces your cuts. The sheriff is by far the largest expenditure at $9 million. And again, these figures are based on fiscal year 2025. Next slide. So public services is one of the discretionary buckets. These are the services the board are not statutorily required to fund at a set level, which is why they show up first in any reduction conversation. All of these items total around $800,000. These would include ag extension, 4-H, soil and water, library, economic development, veteran services, as well as aid to private. Next slide. So the 2027 general fund transfer is currently budgeted to the road at $1.5 million almost. So the single largest discretionary transfer, and for context, we transferred $350,000 to solid waste in 2024, $395,000 to fire in 2025. Again, these transfers are board decisions every year. As you can see, since 2022, there have been over $13 million transferred from general to road, fire, solid waste, and capital projects. Next slide. Community amenities is the third discretionary bucket. About $1.5 million across Hart Springs, the boat ramps, county parks, and Otter Springs. Several of these could have their fees looked at in order to try and increase the chance that they're not a drain on the general fund. And that's the monetized services option that we're going to look at on the revenue slide next. The challenge with the parks is that there are costs that are incurred throughout the year that may not be covered if a storm or flood event limits revenues for extended periods of time. Again, we can't control Mother Nature. Next slide. So if Amendment 3 were to pass, we could look at revenue increases. If Amendment 3 passes, here are some revenue options that could help close the gap. A gas tax is probably the cleanest. 5 cents is available for Gilchrist County to implement, and that would generate about $382,000. This will be passed as an ordinance, not a referendum. So this would help cover some road expenses. However, there are restrictions to how this revenue gets spent. So it may or may not completely eliminate $382,000 in transfer need from the general. So the EMS special assessment is the second biggest, or is the biggest potential source. There are some AG opinions regarding special assessments and what they can fund, but EMS does appear to be an option for us as a small county. The other option would be to increase the millage rate on non-homesteaded properties. Again, all of these options are board policy decisions. Then we could look at expenditures if Amendment 3 passes. So this would be a potential expenditure reduction game plan. The discretionary services on the left side would be first candidates. Again, note road maintenance carries almost a $1.5 million general fund draw. So it's the biggest single opportunity. The challenge with these considerations is that many of them have offsetting revenues. So the total revenue for all of these items on the left is just over $1.5 million. So that would bring the net reduction down to only $2.3 million in savings. When you look at these numbers, it's clear that discretionary cuts will not be enough in the first year. And considering that year 2 is $4.2 million in reduction, the board will have to even make harder decisions than discretionary cuts. So beyond discretionary, the harder choices are going to be looking at reducing mandatory services, considering selling county properties or parks, and potentially cutting staff and hours. Again, all of these are going to have to be board decisions. All right, so next let's look at Senate Bill 4F. So this is the amendments implementation bill, and it does apply to this budget cycle. 3 changes. The rollback rate is now what requires a majority vote. So going even slightly above rollback, up to 110% of the rollback rate now requires a 2/3 vote. So that would mean 4 commissioners. Above 110% of rollback, the increase does require a unanimous vote. And finally, the property appraiser is required by this bill to submit amendment notice language in the trim mailing. So next, this one is actually next year's issue, House Bill 1329. So I wanted to go ahead and talk about this today, even though it affects next year. So House Bill 1329 does require 5 years of budgets to be posted online with narrative and graphics, a published budget calendar by the end of January, and the new lift will be a formal workshop showing how we cut 10% without touching essential services, plus a quarterly salary report, Our multi-year budget book already meets a lot of the posting standard, but the two new items we'll build into next year's schedule are the 10% reduction workshop and the January calendar.
And I know we had talked about this whenever we were directing the departments,
Yes, ma'am.
the 10%.
All right, so let's get into the proposed budget for next year. So this is the full 2027 recap by fund. Again, it does reflect the $1,473,000 transfer from general fund to transportation. And the total for all funds is just over $49.4 million. The total gross budget is actually down 20% from fiscal year 2026. This is primarily from reductions in capital and road projects, but also due to operating cuts. Next slide. So this is the same data from the analysis slide, but it shows where the requests moved year over year. So the gross requests fall a little over $13 million. Again, it's mostly a change in capital in 301, but also the interfund transfer. So new this year is the CDBG grant, but core operating budgets did reduce slightly. Again, the bottom row shows the same number as the prior slide, the $49.4 million. Next slide. So this is a table that shows the past 3 years, and it gives you the detail and the percentage changes. So again, showing the drop in fiscal year 26 to 27 in capital projects, right at $2.7 million. This is due to some projects completing, jail, fire, extension, EOC. And I'm not going to go through this line by line, but this is just an overview. And again, it shows the drop in general fund appropriations of around $12 million. Next slide. So this shows changes on department level. So on the top section is the general fund departments. And as you can see, the general fund departments are relatively flat at a 0.1% increase, just over $5,000. So it basically came in as requested on the general fund. You know, it's basically a flat request with some exceptions. On the special revenue side, you've got increases in fire, EMS, and we'll discuss all of these things in detail when we get to the individual items. Next slide. So this shows the board-funded transfers to the constitutional officers. This is the board cost, not necessarily each office's full state-funded budget. The sheriff is the big one at about $9.7 million, up 1.8%. The property appraiser has a fair increase, and the tax collector and supervisor of elections are also up modestly. Next slide.
Todd,
Yes, sir.
do these budgets include health and care increase, the FRS? You probably
I'll
said
actually
that.
address that on a future slide.
No raises.
So going down to slide,
You getting there? Go ahead.
yeah, actually, if I'll address it in a few slides, if that's
Okay.
all right.
Thank you.
All right, so this is the general fund millage discussion. So taxable values rose 5.6% to about $1.58 billion. So if we hold at the 8.5 mills, we collect an additional $700 and almost $12,000 more than last year. The table shows the alternative rates of 8.6, the requested of 8.5, the rollback rate of 8.1795, and if we were to go down to 8. With the dollar differences against current. So again, 8.5 is what our budget is based on. So if we make any changes up or down from that, those are the changes that it would reflect. So next slide. So again, this just shows the 2026-2027 requested budget at 8.5 mills generates just over $13.4 million in ad valorem revenues. If we were to go to the rollback rate of 8.1795, it would bring your revenues to just under $13 million and would reduce revenues by just over $500,000. For EMS, on the MSTU, the requested millage rate is .9026, which is the current rate, and would generate just over $1.4 million. And the rollback rate on the MSTU is .8687, which would generate just under $1.4 million and would be a decrease of about $54,000. So at the August 3rd regular meeting, we'll be asking the board to give us our proposed rate for both the general fund and the MSTU so that we can send that to the property appraiser to be placed on the trim notices.
I have a question
Yes, ma'am.
for like, the EMS, MSTU.
Yes, ma'am.
If we left it at the 0.9, then it, you know,
.9026, uh-huh.
right. So is that the same then as last, well, like what did we get last year? Because it's blank right there.
I'll provide that to you, but it was basically,
How much more
same.
would that be?
it's
Okay.
very, not very much more, but it is slightly more. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
and you'll get to that then, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
All right, so next slide. So this just is a slide showing the changes in FRS. For elected officials, the change this year, and again, this is set by the legislature, shows an increase of 16.7%. Special risk increased 7.25%. Drop was up 0.5%. And then senior management and regular dropped 1.9 and 3.14% each. So to the chairman's question, next slide. So these are personnel factors that always affect budget: your FRS rates, your health insurance, raises, and longevity. So within this budget, again, the rates set by the legislature, the changes included in this budget request were utilized for BOCC departments and funds, for the clerk's office, and for the sheriff's office. So the other constitutionals did not utilize the new numbers in FRS.
So the clerk's office did and the sheriff's office did
Yes, ma'am.
for the FRS rates, okay?
Yes, ma'am. On health insurance, there is a 7.5% increase in health insurance rates. And again, those changes were included in the proposed budget for all BOCC departments and funds, the clerk and the sheriff. On raises and longevity, it does appear that longevity was included by everyone. There were no raises budgeted for BOCC departments and funds for the clerk's office, and I did confirm this morning, or the sheriff. Other than that, we would just need to confirm with constitutional officers if raises are included in their budget request.
So you said nobody included it?
As far as I know, no one did, but we just need to confirm the other constitutionals. Next slide. So this is the fund balance policy sheet. So first, we're going to take a look at the general fund. So based on projected revenues, and again, these revenues do not have, they were actually flat as far as the state revenues go because we have not received any numbers from the state as of this point. The estimate is that we will not receive those until late this month or possibly early August. Once we receive those numbers, we'll amend our revenue estimates based on that. But based on the proposed budget, the general fund is estimated to receive $24,543,000. Our proposed expenditures are $22,525,000. So that would leave an excess of just over $2 million. We actually then have a budgeted transfer of almost $39,000 to capital improvements. That does cover the jail loan, as well as $500,000 for chip and seal if the board chooses to leave that in. And it also includes the transfer to road of right at $1.5 million. Based on projected revenues and projected expenditures and all transfers, that would start us out at around $300,000 deficit for the general fund. For 9/30/2026, our projected fund balance is just over $16 million. Our fund balance policy requires just over 5.6, so we would be well within policy with those numbers. Looking at fire, budgeted revenues of $1,340,000 on expenditures of $1,328,000, which would leave a surplus of just under $12,000. So basically, almost a balanced budget there. Projected fund balance at the beginning of next year is just under $630,000 on a fund balance policy of $273,000. So again, that would be well within policy. Road Department, estimated revenues of $1,365,000 with expenditures of $2,764,000, which leaves a deficit of about 1.4. With the transfer from general of 1.4 million, that would leave a slight surplus of about 74,000, which would add to fund balance. The fund balance at the beginning of the year is just over 488,000, and the requirement is 553,000. So EMS, we've got revenues of just over almost $3.1 million on expenditures of just over $2.9 million, which leaves a surplus of about $164,000. And based on that, the fund balance at beginning of the year is right at $1.3 million. The fund balance policy is $587,000, and so well within fund balance policy there. For solid waste, we've got revenues estimated at $1,178,000 versus expenditures of $1,235,000, which leaves a deficit of just over $57,000 with a starting fund balance of $830,000 and a requirement of $247,000. Solid waste would be within policy as well. And if there are no questions on that,
Yeah, Todd, I wonder if, could we, this same overview, you include the actual reduction if the amendment passes and what it looks like?
sure.
Would that be helpful?
Well, as of right now, obviously you haven't cut any expenditures, and so, if you have the reduction, then it's just going to be a straight $2.6 million reduction in revenues. So you'd be at you'd add $300,000 to that, and you'd be starting at almost a $3 million deficit today.
Yeah, but if you think about the effect on the fund balances and our policy, all that's going to have to change, right?
Correct. The bottom line is if it goes through, we're going to have to eliminate expenditures or find additional revenue sources. That's your only options moving forward. Any other questions?
Just make sure I understand this right. So just looking under general, our fund balance projected is 16 million,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? But our policy is 5.6.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So we're about 3 times over our policy.
Currently, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Big part of that as well is we had that 20% reduction in budget from last year. So your fund balance policy typically is a lot more than that. Like last year, we had a $9 million requirement. Because you have a reduction in expenditures budgeted, you have a lower requirement, because the fund balance is based on expenditures. So when you look at expenditures dropping, So now next year, if your expenditures go up because of grant funds and things like that, your fund balance requirement increases as well.
Go up.
So,
Well,
The fund balance is not it's not set at this, it depends on revenue, on what your expenditures are.
correct,
So-
your
so
requirement,
what is a surplus this year may not be a surplus the following year,
correct.
depending on expenditures.
Right, it just means that your fund balance requirement is going to fluctuate based on your expenditures.
Right.
but the big advantage of having that fund balance is so that we don't have to go out and
Borrow
borrow money.
Correct.
We just did 138, $6.3 million, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Correct.
We would have had to finance that, we would have
Yes.
had to pay closing costs, interest rates, the whole 9 yards, try to make all that up, and then we would finally get reimbursed, but we put out a bunch of money while we're trying to get reimbursed.
And a lot of-
With that fund balance, we just write a check, plus that money that's in the fund balance is drawing interest until we write that check. So
That's
to me, there's a lot of advantages. I know it looks big and it's a large number, $15 million, but it's such of a cushion to keep from spending. You're actually making money
You're
rather
actually
than
making
losing
money
money.
with it instead of,
Losing money.
yeah,
That's
because
correct.
we can pay our bills in advance or on time and don't have to pay interest on money that we borrowed to do it.
That's correct. In addition, you're earning interest on those funds.
That's right.
You know, and it's helping to provide a more secure, future for the county.
Right.
The other side of that is storms. You know, when you look at.
Absolutely. It can
when
eat
you
it
look
up
at
in a
storms,
hurry.
My big thing in the
We have
beginning,
been-
5 years in a row, we had storms come through here.
Correct. And the thing of it is the storms that that have affected us have not affected us as bad as our neighboring counties.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I
if
tell
you-
people, those storms have been 10 miles south of where they hit, it would be a whole different story for us right now.
If you talk to Taylor County, if you talk to Dixie County,
Taylor County got hit
it-
hard.
they were majorly hit, and, the impact of them, if it had hit us in the same manner, then $16 million is not enough. Like, we don't even have enough to cover the expenses of what happened.
I was told that Taylor County had to borrow $50 million to recover.
I hadn't asked and I hadn't looked,
That's
but
what I was told.
But that would not shock me at all because they were drastically hit. All it takes is a shift of a storm like that, just to the right, and we're in that same boat.
Right.
And so we're one storm away from this not even being able to touch the issue that we're dealing with. The other side of that is that, as I mentioned earlier in this workshop, the general fund it's the fund that covers all other funds.
That's right.
And so you've seen in years past, we currently subsidize the road department. If your fund balance is depleted, you're no longer able to do that. If your fund balance is right at $6 million, you can't transfer it. You don't have the funds to do that. You don't have the ability. We have to be aware that the general fund is responsible to ensure that all other funds are okay, that they have the ability to operate. And in those years where they don't, the general fund has to backfill that.
Any department that has problems, general fund.
The general fund is where they go to, and we've seen that in the past. As I mentioned, we had to supplement fire in years past, we had to supplement solid waste in years past, and we always annually supplement the road department. So you have to be cautious, with the fund balance to ensure that, you're fiscally sound and you're able to cover your expenditures. So next, we have 3 constitutional officers that will be presenting this morning. So we'll invite Mr. McElroy up. I think he's first on the list. And you will find the tax collector budget on pages 53, but also on pages 94 through 105. And I will turn it over to Mr. McElroy.
94.
94 through 105.
How do
Now-
what tab is that going to be under? Because I didn't see a tab.
It's under, it's under,
It's behind the
Rodeo
arena.
Okay.
It's the papers behind
I mean,
that.
I saw it, but I noticed when I was
It's
looking.
about halfway through that stack.
So it's gonna be
Yeah, page 94.
page 94.
94.
And so with yours, Mr. McElroy, you did not include the FRS then, did you?
Michael McElroy, tax collector. So when you guys get to the page, I'll have to go from on here. I brought my pages, but I don't have
I got it.
the numbers that you have. So we'll just address it as we go. We'll wing it, as they say. Do you have other pages, or do you want me to just address each one on the line item? I don't know what you have.
We have your exact proposal.
Okay. So we want to go to the next page? That's what I'm asking.
She doesn't have it here.
They
They
don't have
have,
anything else.
not for up there, they have it in a book.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll just address it from here because I don't have what you have and I don't know where you are. So personnel services up 0.8%, and that's primarily due to, okay, not really, but we have one person that's receiving longevity pay, and we have one other person that's receiving certification pay, so that's the increase of the little bit of money there in the personnel expenses. The operating expenses are up slightly because of our tax system. It's a slight increase of what our vendor is charging, and that makes up that amount there. There are no other increases, so that's why this is kind of a flat presentation, and I apologize for that. So,
And you're doing 1,500 for capital outlay, and then you got a note here that says if necessary. So you're
Yes.
budgeting that in case equipment
we do it
tears up
every
or
year,
something?
just in case something comes up, so that we're not blindsided. But of course, we usually return 15 to 30,000 a year back to the county. So
All of your software for your licensing and all that is up to date? And don't see any major expenses coming in for any of that stuff?
no, not at this point. The only part was the tax system increase, and you can look at that about 2% every year.
So that's 2% every year.
Yeah, I will make one note. You can see that our total expenditures are about $876,600. But keep in mind, we also make fees on driver's license transactions, which are about $275,000. So the actual money that we need from the county is about $601,000. So I think sometimes we forget that my budget is not $876,000.
Right.
The net is $601,000.
601,000.
Yes, ma'am, 601,600.
And how many employees do you have, Michael?
Including me, 8. And
8.
it's the same 8 that we've had for the past 30 to 35 years. And we've added a multiplicity of additional services with no additional staff.
Yeah, my experience is everything is very professional, it's run very well, and I hear that from a lot of people, so thank you.
I appreciate that.
Very
And-
good job.
And thank you for keeping this at a line.
Absolutely.
And you said you give usually, about 30,000 you'll get back usually?
It's usually anywhere from 15 to 30.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next up we have the Supervisor of Elections, and you'll find her on page 92 and 93.
92,
Right in front of it.
93.
Welcome,
Okay.
Miss Lisa.
Thank you. Lisa Garrett, Supervisor of Elections. Mine, like Michael, is very short. My contractual services are going to go up, like his, 2%, 3% every year. That was increased. And our education funds, I increased just a little bit, but I'm asking for $8,000, which is a 1.31% increase.
How many employees do you have?
Including myself, 3.
3. And then just curiosity, because just with his comment he made about the past several years, like, let's say like 5, 6 years ago, how many did y'all have?
Same amount.
Same amount, okay.
for the past 20.
And your operating expenses, can you explain that again, why that went up to 4.8%?
Yes, I added, like I said, education funds. I had an employee quit, and so I have a new employee that I'm trying to get certified as well. And then, some of my fees went up, and contractual services go up every year.
That's a given.
Yep.
That's a given.
Yes, every year.
And you're getting ready to, and in the middle of doing lots of things to get ready for the election, right?
And, she's doing a great job. Their whole staff is doing a good job. From what I've seen, they're on top of everything that's going on,
Yep.
Yes, they are.
With
just
the-
as they need to be.
With the capital outlay at 25,000, what is that, to be estimated? Like, what is that?
Last year, I increased 17,000 for an upgrade to our Dominion server. That did not happen because Dominion was bought out by Liberty Votes.
Yes.
So, the state made them recertify, so I have not gotten the upgrade yet, but I will after the general election, so that'll be taken care of this year.
But you budgeted how much last year for that?
The same amount, 17,000.
Okay, but we didn't get it. So that'll kind of roll over then, that
Mhm, it will.
17,000?
Yes. Yeah.
And just curiosity about how much do you give back every year? I was just curious.
Well, last year I gave back over 100,000, but Connie had budgeted, not knowing how the election was gonna turn out. So usually around 20, 30 is what we get back every year.
And we appreciate every bit that each constitutional officer gives back because,
And this does not include raises or insurance increase, et cetera.
or the FRS.
Yeah.
FRS.
Or that. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms.
Susan.
Lisa.
Doing a good job.
All right, next up, we have Miss Natalie McPhillips here with the Health Department. You're going to find this on page 47. And
Good morning.
Good morning.
We are again before you asking for the same amount. We're trying really hard to keep our costs down and be very frugal with our expenditures. And so we're here again to ask for the 88.
We appreciate that, and we also appreciate all the services you all provide to our county.
Thank you so much.
You're doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions, anybody? No? All right, thank you.
Thanks so much.
all right, so next up, we have one group from the Aid to Private Organizations. This is a new entry for this year. It's Bell Community Mission. Again, you'll find this on page 47 as well. And I believe they have Ms. Bailey. Yes, ma'am? Yes, ma'am.
Now, will this be written like to the bread of the mighty, so we know it's going to 100% towards the food?
No, ma'am. If you were to add this line item, this would go directly to Bell Community, unless you direct me otherwise, I guess. But as of right now, I think the request is to go directly to Bell Community.
What did you say, Todd?
Do y'all get your food from the bread of the mighty?
Yes. It's through Walmart or through their other outlets, yes.
So if we did approve this, could we just write that check to the bread of the mighty? That way, why's that?
Because we really need it to help us get started. We want to start a food pantry. We're just really getting going with this. We need to find a different location so that we can have a food pantry there. We can't really count on the town of Bell and the community center because that can get rented out from underneath us. So we need financing also for a vehicle because we're driving back and forth to pick up all this food at Walmart. So we've been somebody's been driving, we've been renting a trailer, We're looking into possibly buying a used box truck. We're looking into everything. We want this to grow for our community. The numbers of people that keep coming is growing tremendously. The amount of food that we're getting in is growing, which is really a blessing. But this money would be for us, for Bell's community mission to move forward.
It's not just for food, it's to run the whole
Oh,
organization.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, so it wouldn't do any good for us to write it to the bread of the mighty.
No,
Because that's
absolutely not.
just for the food. You need it to run your organization.
Right,
We
right.
need a place for freezers and refrigeration. We don't have that.
We can't use that in the community center.
Now, how many days a week or month, or how do y'all
Every
give?
Tuesday, first and third Fridays, there's a fifth Friday this month, and then we usually do one other Thursday where we get a truck in from, specifically from Bread of the Mighty. The rest of the time, we go down to Walmart down in Chiefland.
The senior pantry right now, how often do they give out food, do y'all know?
Once a month.
Once a month.
I think it's like the third or fourth Friday.
But y'all do it every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday, every other Friday.
How many people are you serving, and where are they coming from?
Last month it was over 1,100 people.
1,100? And are they just Gilchrist County, or are they?
Gilchrist.
Okay, because I think I saw somewhere where there were,
There is some, it's mostly Bell, 95% of it's Bell, and then Trenton also,
Once in a while, you'll have, I mean, people can see, if it's on Facebook, people need food, they'll drive to wherever.
Yeah.
And if they don't get checked for license, or you don't have to have any kind of pre-registration for it, they can just come in and take a box. So you'll have people that are from, once in a while we get somebody from Brantford or something like that, because we have them sign in and they tell us what town, but that is one out of every 100 people that sign in we get that are not in Gilchrist County. We do have some freezers that people are donating to us. Bread of the Mighty, they had a vehicle that we had passed on. It was a Sprinter van, and the regulations and the paperwork for us to accept that was a little bit much. So we'd really like to be able to get our own vehicle. We now are getting funds from, we're going around to different companies and talking to them. So we are starting to get in a little bit of money. Most of the money that was coming from the people that we give the food to, whether it's $1, $2, whatever they put out sort of thing. So
yeah, there's no doubt you're doing good work. It's needed. The concern I've got is all of these aid to private organizations, if this amendment passes, we won't be able to do any of these. And so that's a concern, and we just got to.
Yeah. I mean, bad as I hate it, if it does pass, we're gonna, no.
So is there anything else that you would need? I mean, the thing is, we don't have the money to really lock in a location. We have been looking at different places to see where we could rent. That would make a big difference. This would also help us to cover insurance and any liabilities and whatnot, so.
Y'all do any type of fundraisers or anything?
We haven't done that yet because, and a lot of times even getting grants, you need to have a specific address. We don't have a legal address.
Right.
And so, we just keep spinning with this. And I mean, we have my address down, Margaret, who just left, we have her address down for bank statements and whatnot, but, we really need to establish some particular place. There are a few places in Bell, they don't really want to rent to us, so we're looking for private owners that we can rent from.
You have any type of sponsorships or anybody?
We've had a few businesses that have contributed. What else? We're kind of at a standstill with it, again, because of grants and everything else. So
Right.
Bread of the Mighty, they have a grant but it was supposed to be for a salary. We don't really want it for a salary, so they're seeing if they can reword it. Because we're all doing this volunteer-wise. We did have somebody that wanted that as a salary, and they did not tell us that grant was even available. So that caused a little bit of problems there. So, but we're waiting to see if they can reword that so that we could use this as maybe a small salary, but kind of more of a startup. So we could use it, or if we need to take that as a salary, all right, so let's say I take that money as a salary, how would that affect me if I took that salary and paid the rent?
Right.
And paid the insurance?
Yes.
So these are all the legal things that we have to find out how that would work. So what does that happen to me if I take a $40,000 salary, even though I'm not using that money, we're using it for the, our mission? How do you legally do that? So I don't end up having to pay taxes on
That's
this
right.
money that I'm not using for myself personally. So is there anything that you need further to know from us? I mean, do you want a list of places that we check with to rent from? That's what the problem is. How can we sign a contract to rent if we don't know that we definitely have that money? I mean, at this point, we have about $1,000 in our account. We're now paying to rent a box truck. That ends up costing us about $125 per week. We don't get that kind of money coming in from the people that we serve. They put in what they can, so.
Now, where did that $1,000 come from?
It's come from donations. We had one company that gave us $400. Margaret just spoke to 2 other companies, and they each gave her $200.
Okay.
So, I mean, I can give you the list of.
No, I'm just wondering.
I mean, sometimes we get, $20 we get in our little thing. Sometimes it's $50. We
Okay.
have a store, the thrift shop. Every week she has a little jar that she puts out every week. She brings us 10, 20,
Oh, that's
30,
good.
$40. It's wonderful. So there are people in the community, the auto place across from us, he gives us money, $50, $100. And he's going to be letting us use his trailer, but we also don't have a pickup truck. So we have to count on other people. That's why if we could purchase a box truck, I've contacted all these big companies, and we could buy, and I'd kind of like to buy one from a company like Penske, because they keep track of their vehicles. All right, so if it's used, they have kept up with the maintenance and everything else, whereas if we buy one from you, I don't know what you've done with it.
Right.
It might be a good price, but it might need a whole new engine, but the transmission might be ready to go. So, we kind of want something that's decent, looking at it future. It's just like you're talking about keeping up with things with the town. You cut costs, it costs you down the road.
So right now you're operating off of donations, basically,
Right,
and volunteer help.
right. I
Okay.
mean, and we were all paying for everything before this, and then it was like, why are we
We
not?
got our solicitation.
Yeah, so we got our solicitation.
So now we're able to
Right.
approach.
Do folks come from Trenton area, or do you actually come to Trenton? Do you alternate back and forth, Bell to Trenton, or just Bell, or?
We just served up in Bell.
Okay.
But people from Trenton go there,
But
right?
yes, people from Trenton do come up.
And Trenton does have some things that happen. I know they have a food giveaway at the train depot, and sometimes they're at the elementary school giving things away. I go by there on a Saturday morning, and they're lined up all the way to the dry cleaner to get food from the elementary school. So y'all aren't
It's
part
hard.
of that. That's a different.
We can't judge who comes. It's hard not to do that, because that there are so many that are tremendous in need. And then there are just some that take advantage of it. But you can't really say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hard to separate the needy from the greedy, isn't it?
It's very hard. It's very hard. So.
All right, any other questions? Thank you
Thank you
for
for
coming.
Thank you.
All right.
So while we have a aide to private up there, just a note, SVL will be here on August 4th to present. And SREC, just as a note, they have also applied for nonprofit status, and that should be in effect for October. I've asked if we could take a brief break.
Thank you.
Yeah, sounds like it would be a good idea.
Appreciate it.
5 minutes or 10 minutes or?
5 minutes?
Okay.
We'll adjourn.
TDC, and you'll find it in your book on page 28.
Good morning, I'm Donna Premier, your Executive Director for your tourism. And I'm happy to be here today standing before you to bring our budget. Our budget, we're standing basically flat as we've always increased. But this is important. Tourism is important, and I know a lot of times there's a negative effect people think of the tourism. But let me remind you, out of our 5 campgrounds that we actively have going, when they get up and going during the summer, they hire a minimum of 750 employees between those 5 campgrounds. Within those, yes, some of them will not be local, but some will. With that local, then they turn around and spend their money in our county. Not only that, when we bring our visitors in, they go to our restaurants. I've talked to many of our restaurants. They have assured me that the locals do not keep their businesses going. It's the visitors that's keeping them open and going with that. So I'm proud to be here. I do want to bring you back to why we even did the tourism back in 2006. With that, we wanted to make Gilchrist County special. And how are we special? We are special because we are the Springs capital of the world. I have gone over the world. I have traveled promoting Gilchrist County, and I've never had anyone doubt or say we're not the Springs capital of the world. Along with that, we've created different things because it's important to bring people here, show them what we have, to fall in love with it. With that, many years ago, by Mark Gluckman's help, we created the Gilchrist Blueway Trail, which will GPS map you out, tell you everything that's on our wonderful trail. With that, this year, we just now produced calendar of events on the Gilchrist. If I may read you the opening of that. Our Gilchrist Blueway Trail is a 55-mile liquid corridor which serves as the lifeblood of north central Florida. Carved into the limestone bedrock of Gilchrist County, known as the Springs capital of the world, this designated paddling trail follows the southern banks of the Santa Fe River before merging into the mighty Suwannee River. This is a journey that takes you through ancient landscapes, where the water shifts between deep, tannic, dark, and the sparkling beauty of the springs. This is a story of 2 rivers that emerge and bring together. With that, the closing, let me read you the closing of what we are promoting. Our Gilchrist Blueway Trail is a stark reminder of what Florida used to be, and what it can be still if we cherish it. It's a place where you can lose yourself in the reflection of a cypress tree and find yourself in the gaze of a manatee. It is a sanctuary of sapphire and gold, a trail that leads you through the woods but brings you back to a sense of wonder. Again, visitors are important on our river, at our campgrounds, because if they don't come and experience the beautiful river we have, the water we have, with our current legislation, our water will be taken away from us. This is another way we help to preserve what we have in Gilchrist.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Donna. All the work that you do, I know you're very passionate about what you're doing, and you represent Gilchrist County very well. I've seen that in Tallahassee at our rural county days and otherwise, and I know that the economic impact is huge. And one time I had heard, was it 10 million or 15 million estimated?
If you bring in if you do 250,000 of what we brought in tourism tax, which is 3% of what people spend to stay overnight, that amount meant within our 5 campgrounds, people spent $6.5 million to camp in Gilchrist County.
Yeah.
When you do the math.
Yeah, so then you look at what they spend at restaurants or...
Exactly, and there's the ripple effect.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Anybody got any questions for Ms. Donna? And Mark Gluckman, I don't know how the best way to thank him, but apparently he spent lots of time on this.
Yes,
and
sir. He donated his time on this project even back 2015 when we first developed the Blue Way Trail. It was his vision to bring this to Gilchrist County to promote our rivers. So yes, it is by him.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do a good job.
Commissioners, I know you're aware, but just as a reminder, the TDC count is completely funded by the bed tax. So there's not, I know we've spoken a lot about what we may have to cut in the future depending on the November vote, so that one is.
But she's self-funded, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we have emergency management, and you'll find that on page 24.
The emergency.
Mr.
I
Smith.
think there's a tab for that, right?
There it is.
Is it up at the top, or? I saw it, I got it. Wait, so, emergency management, okay.
There it is, right there.
Page 24.
2510, the blue one.
Yeah.
Welcome, Mr. Smith.
Good morning.
We appreciate the work that you're doing.
Yes, sir. So, I don't really have anything special. There was a slight increase, I believe, due to the match money for the county. I don't have the percentage off the top of my head, but I don't really have any major requests or anything.
So your 3.8% is because of match money?
Yes, ma'am.
So, it,
They measure, I have to do a calculation that is for the state on how, how much the budget has increased. They usually require some kind of increase over the last 3 or 4 years of the budget average.
I just, I just don't agree on buying side-by-sides with grant money. That's just my opinion, so. Does any of this include new vehicles,
No, ma'am.
new side-by-sides?
No, ma'am.
I know we just bought one, so, which,
And what percent of this budget is grant money, roughly?
A little over 50%.
50?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I get $105,000 and then a $47,000 in grant.
so if we didn't increase the match money, the state says we can't do that. We have to increase it every year, they said?
Yes,
What do they say we have to increase it by? What percentage?
it's not a percentage. You measure it over your 3-year average. There's actually a whole form that I have to fill out.
So we can't go lower than 3.8 or we're gonna lose the grants?
No, you'll lose the grant money, yes.
We'll lose every bit of it.
For is a requirement to match.
Right, but we'll lose all of our grant money then.
Sorry,
We'll lose all of our grant money?
I don't know how much. I know that I have to read the statute
Okay.
correctly. We've never been in a position that has happened. Also, these grant amounts have been the same since I got into government in 2005.
I know, but grant money, is still taxpayers' money. I mean, we all know that.
Yeah.
No doubt
I
about
just
that.
think we need to be
I'm not
careful
arguing
in
that, but
how we spend taxpayers' money is my personal
I
opinion.
think the only way to stop that, though, is it has to be stopped in Tallahassee. In other words, they send you $50,000, spend it or turn it back in. You turn it back in, somebody else will get it. So do you want to spend $50,000? That, I want to say free money, it's not because it's taxpayers' money. But if you could stop Tallahassee from handing it out, I think that would stop it right there. It's like the side-by-side. You're either going to spend the money, you're going to turn it back into the state. So you get a side-by-side to help with operations and stuff. The only way to stop that funding there, that taxpayers' dollars being spent, is to stop it in Tallahassee. Quit giving out money. That's the only way you're going to stop it.
Yes, sir. And if I did not spend that $20,000, our grant would have been reduced by 15 to 20% next year.
And if you don't get it, somebody will. It's out there. They're going to give it away. They're going to give it to somebody. Miami-Dade, Lotchway County, Jacksonville, whoever. So that's just a way to stop it is in Tallahassee.
Yes, sir.
All right, any other questions for Ralph?
Good job.
Thank you for your work.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we're going to move to Veteran Services, and you'll find it in page 29 of your book.
Page 29.
Morning.
Veteran
Morning, everybody.
Service.
Thank you,
Chief Hudson, Veteran Services.
Yep.
Good to see you again.
Mr. Steve's budget is
Thank you.
basically the same as it was for the last several years.
Thank
I
you.
try to keep it in a minimum with you, Bobby.
So, and he's doing a great job helping us and supporting veterans as well, too.
It shows mine shows a decrease.
Yeah, of about
2%.
just a little bit,
Yeah, thank you.
$600 or something, I think.
Thank you.
I can say one, go ahead.
Has the Otter Springs being turned back over to us and not being run for 4 vets, has that affected you in any way?
Absolutely not. It never
Okay, I
affected
didn't know
me.
if it affected your numbers of people that came in, or the number of vets that were visiting, or
No, sir.
anything like, so you haven't seen a difference
Absolutely
one
not.
way or the other?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I can tell you one thing, we don't do enough for our vets, the United States as a whole. The veterans deserve a whole lot more than they get, I can tell you that. And me and you've talked about this a little bit, I want to talk to you some more about it. There are some programs out there that really need fixing,
Yes, sir.
that, and you know, one of them is dental. Other things that veterans, they struggle to get help when they need it the most. And I know some of them are in situations because of life choices and stuff like that, but they're still veterans,
Yes,
and they still deserve the services that they just sometimes struggle to get.
I
And
agree.
I wish there's some way to fix it. It'd have to be done in Washington DC probably, but you do a great job. I'm not complaining about you. I'm just saying that working with the veterans and trying to help some of them, they just don't get what they deserve. Somebody gave a report the other day, there's 23,000 veterans sleeping under bridges in the state of Florida, or homeless, whatever you want to call it. Why would we have 23,000 veterans that are homeless, and we got millions of illegals over here getting every handout there is? That's just what irks me. I won't go no further.
No, I understand, and I concur. There's a lot of things that I wish I could do, it's just not available to us. And
Right.
there's a lot of services that veterans, some veterans have, some veterans don't. Like you said, due to choices, or just due to circumstance. With dental as well,
They have too
100%,
many-
you have to be 100% disabled to get full dental from the VA.
Yeah.
Unless you had a pre-existing thing from active duty that they'll fix.
I get a lot of good reports from the Veterans Hospital.
Oh, yes, sir.
I get a lot of good reports from them.
I'm up there a lot.
Well, we thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Steve.
Code enforcement?
I've got the rest of them, so whatever, if you want to follow the order of your
Yeah, we can
handout.
just keep going in order and come back to the library.
Let me find my tab.
Next one's code enforcement on page 23.
Some of our staff was unable to be here today for different reasons, so I will move forward with the remainders of these budgets. We did have a slight increase on the code enforcement. Some of that reason is insurance, of course, life and health, which we've taken in, and also we increased professional services some, just due to the nature of some of the cases that we have right now.
I have a question. I know Ralph drives his vehicle home. Does code enforcement drive a vehicle home?
I think, yes, she does, because she also assists with animal control. I don't know if she drives it home every day, but when she's on call for animal control, she does. She also helps with our fuel
So
island.
does
as
some
well.
of her salary come out of then fuel and operations and animal control also?
No, we take all of her salary out of code enforcement, because they're all funded by general. We're currently we hope to, in the near future, well, we know she won't be doing the fuel island anymore, and then real future, hopefully, only have to help us with animal control in certain situations. Some animal control events turn into be code enforcement cases.
So is code enforcement and animal control, are they mandates? In other words, if we, let's just say we lost $4 million, you had to cut something, is that something that's statutory controlled and we mandated we have to do it?
Code enforcement, you're not. Y'all just took that back up 3-4 years ago?
Yeah.
Something like that. I think animal control, there are some mandates referencing to animals, but not code enforcement.
Okay.
So the personnel services, that increase is based on, the,
Most of it's on life insurance.
in FRS. The 5% personnel services, the increase?
Yes, some of it, I mean, you've got it, it's scattered through the FICA, the retirement, and everything.
But then the operating expenses, it increased 8.9.
Yes. As we added, we added $2,000 for professional services. Actually, it only, and then, but we had a decrease also in fuel and lube. So actually, your total dollar increase roughly there is $1,200, I think.
$1,250.
I mean, I just hate seeing, it's not, increases whenever we're trying to, we know what the future's gonna hold with this, property tax. And so when I see a 5.6% increase, that just, I'm concerned if there's any other way to get that back down kinda around how everybody else has done so far. That's just my thoughts.
Well, we could probably reduce that, if you'd like us to, or like me to. I mean, because what we're doing on like professional services, we actually wound up this past year around 26,000. But that case is going to go away, or should go away now that the DEP has picked it up. So we're estimating what that will be. So in a way, it depends on what the cases bring of what that fee could be. So, and this is
if you can bring it
I know
down.
it's $90,000, but you drop $1,000 off of $90,000, you've dropped quite a bit of percentage.
If you can bring it down, I would appreciate it. That way we're showing other departments that we're doing our part. If that, I don't know how the board feels about that, but at least we're showing the, constitutional officers and all the other departments that we're trying ourselves.
Bobby, on code enforcement, there is some fee recovery if you file a code enforcement violation. There is a somewhat of a return on that, just like Michael says, some of his is fee-based, so he gets some of that money back. There is some fines and all for code enforcement violations, right?
Well, the code enforcement violation fines come once you take them before the magistrate.
Right.
Basically, a type of court hearing. Whether you get those fines back or not can be whether they pay or they don't pay.
Right.
And in most cases, if they don't clean it up, they don't pay. So about 3 years down the road, when you've built up enough of a lien in dollar amount against the property, then you make a decision whether you want to foreclose on the property, and at that time you would get those funds back.
Right.
So we have gotten some of those funds back.
But it may be 2 or 3 years down the road before you get
Right.
them.
It seems like we got some this year, maybe it was the year before. We got like $15,000 back on one claim a year before. Most of our money has always came when somebody decides they want to sell the property, and then there's a lien on it, and they got to settle the lien to
Right.
To be able to sell the property.
be able.
So there is somewhat of a return, minimum.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, once we take a lien, eventually there'll be a return on it. It's just you don't know when eventually will be, because if it's their homestead and they stay there 30 more years, then they're there.
Yeah.
So.
And the same with animal control. If there's a fine with the animal control, sometimes you would collect a small amount.
Yes, we're getting a little better on collecting those, because we've had a few cases that has went before the judge, and the judge has, supported our cases based on the evidence that we have and what we have. We just had a case the other day, actually the person had already paid like a $400 fine, and the next one was 800 and something, and when we went in, they was contesting it, but we had everything, all the T's crossed and I's dotted, and the judge agreed and gave them, I think they give them up to 60 days maybe to pay those. Mr. Newton probably knows that law better than I do, but there's a time limit they give them to pay with them, but we have been collecting those, and we're getting a little bit tougher on those now too.
Yeah. And Duke, you said that, you said that's controlled by legislature as far as what those fines can be?
Yes.
Yes.
That's why we amended our ordinance to make those match with what the clerk's office was collecting. It wasn't comparable to our ordinance, so we adjusted.
Yeah.
And the way we adjusted that ordinance is that it automatically adjusts. Our ordinance automatically will adjust with the state ordinance, so we don't have to come back in.
We included that.
every time.
Right,
So we didn't
okay.
have to change it each time.
So if they go up, we go up. They go down, we go down.
That's right.
We have one staff person
Yes, sir.
in code enforcement. I've had input from folks that say, that it seems like there's a lot of opportunity to do a lot more. We could add more staff, we could have more cases. At this point, we're just, I mean, is that what you see, or?
Well, code enforcement is what you want to make it be, and we do all ours on complaint driven.
Right.
We probably if we get 100 complaints, 50 or 60 of those people will actually go in and fill out the documentation that they're required to sign. And that's a statute that says they have to sign it. We, ourselves personally, we don't generate a whole lot. Our code enforcement agent can generate one, or anybody can, but, if you get a violation on a home and the home next to it has the same violation, then you've got to kind of generate one on that one. But if you've got one home in a subdivision somebody complains on, you do the one home, you do where the complaint comes. So I would say 99.9% of everything we do is complaint driven by.
They're not
And-
out,
and that has to be-
they're not out looking for.
No, we don't write
violations
on
themselves. They're just doing it by
If we started
complaints.
doing that,
I know people have called me before, and I tell them you have to go online and do that form,
You'd have to have a
but
They don't do it.
I know they don't do it, and that's something, I mean, I don't, when somebody calls me, I want to help them. So is that something they have, so you said state law says they have to fill that form out?
Yes, they have to sign on
Right,
a code
and,
violation.
or we could even give it to that person and get them to sign
They
it.
can do it online or pick one up, We've actually went to people's homes before that weren't able to come in or
Yes.
couldn't. We've carried the form to them, let them complete the form and hand it back to us.
Okay, so we can, that's the option also.
If you want to
somebody-
complete a form, there is a way to get it done.
I need to, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any more questions on code enforcement? Moving on.
Next, we're going to move to general government. Going to find that on pages 14 and 15.
It's like a decrease.
Slight decrease.
You said 14 and 15, is there a tab, yeah? No,
The very
what does
first tab.
general government, what all does that,
Covers county administrator's office, all of the commissioners, the IT personnel,
IT?
Ms. Caitlin,
Yeah.
and
And HR,
HR, yeah.
HR, commissioner, okay?
And basically, anything else that falls outside of a category, of a department,
Okay.
gets lumped underneath general government.
Okay, that's
it
general.
contains some of our professional services that has to do with our IT information, backups, utilities for certain departments,
The Trenton CRA,
yeah,
Insurance.
yes.
And the building department has their own,
they do, yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
that's what it was saying, look, okay.
And it includes FRS and insurance. increases.
It does, yes, sir.
Okay, so you still
And
have
we
a
still have a decrease.
$50,000 increase roughly, right?
Right. Okay.
All right.
All right. That's good.
We did have one loan roll off this year, the Dominion voting equipment. So that's some of your savings right there. It was about $25,000.
It's about- How much was that?
About
You
$25,000,
said 20,000?
24,000.
Okay, and that's gonna be under what? Operating expenses, or which one would that be on under?
It's under debt service.
As
Okay.
you said, the big thing was the debt service increase and it went
So-
down there.
Okay, I see what you said, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So that decrease was because of that then? Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're on the,
And did it decrease the whole amount then, making sure?
The loan, you mean?
Yeah,
Well, we decreased the debt service by that amount.
okay, making sure.
we're on detention and
But I
correction.
had just had, but why is it still up, like, from going back to debt service? Like in 25, it was 50, and 26 is 367, and
That would
now
be the
it's still.
Spring Ridge paving loan.
Okay, so that's, okay. All right. That makes sense, okay. So eventually that will come off too, eventually that will go down.
Eventually, yes, ma'am.
All right.
All right, detention and corrections, you'll find on page 21.
Some corrections. And that's a zero change?
Yes, ma'am.
But, okay.
Yeah, we kept that level. I mean, detention and corrections is one of those that it's really hard to budget for because you're literally budgeting for items that you have no control over. That would be your detention services, which fortunately has dropped drastically, compared to what it was years ago before we opened the new jail. But like last year, we spent $140,000 in detention services. This year, we're projecting about $30,000, and we're hoping that it's going to continue to decline. So we're budgeting $20,000 for that. We're budgeting $125,000 for inmate hospital. Last year, we spent about $82,000. This year, about $24,000 is what we're projecting. But again, all it takes is, a number of large claims, and you've spent that.
You don't budget for the unexpected.
Right.
And this is where we have to send inmates to other.
That's correct. That's where, you're paying for hospitalization, ER
and other-
visits.
And other jails.
Correct.
How many, Sheriff Schultz, do we have right now that's housed outside of Gilchrist County?
Sheriff Bobby Schultz, as of Friday, I believe Captain Holly told me we had 7, 2 in Levy, 5 in Dixie County.
Now, is that because we're already full, or what's the reason? Because
Some of it is females. We're at capacity typically with females, and then some of them are conflicts that we have no choice but to send other agencies. I think in Levy counties are a 1-for-1 right now. I think we hold one of theirs for the conflict. And then Dixie counties is, my understanding, is all female.
And how many do we have in the jail right now?
We had 62 or 63 on Friday.
And how many could we have? What's the capacity?
84 is the capacity.
Okay. All right, I just had seen somewhere
But
where
the
we're already
84
at
would have to
capacity.
be the right number of males versus the right number of females versus
Juveniles.
no brothers and no juveniles and, yeah.
So
yeah.
just to be clear, the 7 that we have out is not because we're at capacity right now.
Five are because we are at capacity on females.
On
We can
females.
hold 15-ish, 12 to 15 females.
Okay.
We have one pod for that, and the other ones are in conflict. Now,
Now,
that was
do
out
we want
Friday. We
to-
may have already gotten rid of some of those.
Now, is this something we want to do, is make 2 pods for that, or if we get more females, is that something you're looking at doing?
Ideally, in the future, that's probably what you're gonna have to look at, but I think it's my personal opinion, it'd be extremely expensive
you're looking at, Mr. Crosby and Mr. Newton worked on this feverishly, but you're probably looking at a couple $1 million to add another pod.
Okay. But we can't use the pods that we have right now if we're not at capacity for females.
We've looked at it, trying to figure out how we can balance out, because we have classifications, you can't keep sentence inmates and with these type of inmates and that stuff.
Okay.
So when we pared down the original jail that we asked for, that was one of the cuts we had to do, is we took one pod from the females.
Okay.
Because typically we don't have that many
Okay.
females.
Would that be a future legislative appropriation ask?
Yes, I believe that would, seeing what Tallahassee's doing right now, I don't know how they're gonna do it, but yes, that would probably be my suggestion.
That'd probably be something that they would be interested in. They've always
kinda owe us.
supported law enforcement, and
Yeah, that would not be,
maybe next year we ought to think about that.
Right now, the jail staff would argue with me, but it's containable, and sometimes we don't have very many. I think Mr. Newton can give you the numbers. It just really, summer times are gonna be very busy here, and winter times typically go down a little bit. But we're averaging altogether 68 to 70 inmates continuously. Well, at least that's what we've done for the last few months anyway.
Captain Holly does a good job balancing that out, don't he?
Yeah,
I went down and talked to him, and
let's keep balancing that.
it's a juggling act to try
It is.
to
I know,
do all the things that have to be done.
I knew when we built that new jail, there was talk about being able to turn the rec area into another pod, but it really wasn't built for that to be done without a lot of money to be spent. Is that what I'm gathering? Is it wasn't plumbed or wired for any of that, and so it would cost a lot of money to go back in and try to bring that up to standard so they could do that?
You had the concrete there, you had the first roof over. But yeah, I mean, you'd have to, they prefab those things. It'd be less expensive to do it the way that we could do it now, but it's still gonna be pretty costly.
Yeah, the shell is there,
Yeah.
so the way they build those pods, they're like a building in a building, so they price them out by pod, so, all of the electrical and plumbing will be part of the cost of the pod. There's enough power source there, it's just you would have that, so I think that would hold 2 more pods, am I remembering that correctly?
I think
it was 2 more pods.
If you're at 84, it's supposed to hold 120 originally, so yeah, that's about right.
And that's what it would be, what is the price of the?
So our next step in increasing his capacity would be to work on putting a pod in there and then moving recreation to outside, is that?
I think we could still hold recreation inside based on the 2 pods. Right
Oh,
now, we
really?
just have a large area for recreation,
Right.
bigger than what our needs are, and there's enough room in there, I believe, to put a male pod and a female pod in there. And to your point, Commissioner Langford, that we're always gonna have some overflow, regardless, just because you get a big burglary ring that can't be held in
Can't be
certain
in the same
places.
area.
It's very difficult, but we could, eventually when the county can afford a female pod, it should knock down some of the continued costs.
so even if we would have built the jail to hold 100 people, there's still gonna be inmates we have to send out, is what you're telling me?
A few, yes. Probably not to the levels that we're having to do right now consistently, but typically 2 or 3 would,
So right now we're
depending on
doing
what the crime is, or a judge's order, sometimes judge, or we arrest, or charge somebody who's a employee's family, we'll move them out to the complex. We'll do that just because of making sure that we look appropriate in how we handle things. So yeah, but that's where we're roughly 7 being held elsewhere. 2 of those, from what I believe the jail staff told me, was a 1-for-1 with Levy. So I don't think we're paying them.
We're not.
And now if we go over that 1-for-1, we'll pay it. And I don't,
So we're doing 7 now roughly. What were we doing before with the old jail?
30-something.
30 to 40?
you've knocked down quite a bit of it.
Okay.
In a perfect world, we wouldn't have to do all those, but how things worked out, we're making it work. And eventually, I can't sit there and tell you next year whatever, but I do what Chairman Smith said. I think that's probably, if you're looking at appropriations and trying to get something, that's probably, I would think would be doable. A couple $1 million again. these gentlemen know how much it costs, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty close to $1 to $3 million to probably outfit it, or we could put another female pod in there with plumbing, electricity, and all
And
those
it wouldn't
things.
increase your personnel because it would be an area that can already be, so you wouldn't have to have a big increase in personnel. Just be the building itself.
Other than we're at critical staff now just because of the normal stuff like everybody else is, but theoretically, no, you're watching them from a spot up here, other than,
So it's just watching.
there should not be, we could run it with what we have currently.
Okay. Great, great. Doing a good job, Bobby. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Very good.
Next, we have courthouse operations on page 19.
Courthouse operations. Let me find that.
Reduction.
What's that?
I see a decrease.
And is that a tab in our book also?
It is in mine, it's a green tab.
Yes, CH operations. I found it.
Yeah, that particular budget went down.
Yeah, anybody want to argue with that?
Nope, they don't see any need to build new things, and we've taken care of renovating the courthouse, and I'm sure they were included with, the new roof and the painting and all that, so, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are we to the clerk of court budget?
Actually, we got one more, library.
Library.
Page 49.
Library. Let me find it in my big book. Is it?
It's right
I
before
found
Hart
it.
Springs,
Yeah, got it.
and it's a pink tab.
Library. Where's that at on the? Is it on here also? I'm at courthouse operations.
You gotta go back like 5 slides,
Go back.
about 3 pages. One more page.
I got it. Thank you. Oh, same thing. A decrease. Good.
Page 46 in the presentation. 49 in the book. And a decrease,
Yes.
proposed decrease.
That's good.
And this would be one of those items that nobody wants to cut, but would be discretionary, and if the amendment passes,
Correct.
Yep, this could be affected.
it could be
I can
effective.
tell you, they do an incredible job down there. I have nothing but praise after praise after praise for the programs they run, not only for the kids' programs, of course, my grandkids are part of it, so I hear about it all the time, but everything they do out there has been a positive. I've never gotten a negative complaint about our library, so.
Well, I think in addition
I
to,
appreciate what they do, and I believe if you put it out to the people, that would be one they wouldn't want to touch, because they enjoy it.
I think in addition to the kids' programs, I mean, they have lots of adults programs as well.
They do.
That I think they're doing good work with, but,
Okay.
all right. If there's no other questions on that, to my budget, page 53 and 54.
Page 50. Let me see.
And you're holding your budget the same.
Clerk.
And hold my budget the
Is
same.
there a tab on yours also?
No, ma'am.
So that's gonna be after Hart, right?
It's the white one right under the
It's right
courthouse.
past rodeo.
Right past the rodeo. Let me find it. Rodeo.
And how many employees do you have, Mr. Newton?
For the board side, I have 7.
7.
And how many have you had? I've asked other Constitution officers like the last.
There's 18, including myself.
How many, like, say, 5 years ago did you have?
18.
And how many you have now?
18.
Okay, I'm just, asking them all.
Yep. There's been some changes in the staffing, but
Okay.
18 total, like it was different positions, but.
So your
People been
budget's-
with you for a long time?
So your budget
I do
stays the
have some
same?
longevity. Since I've gotten into office, I've had a lot of changes. When I came into office, there was a lot of longevity. And so since then, I've had, quite a few retire. But I still do have, I've got some staff that have been with me for, I've got several that are 20 plus.
Wow, that's good.
And then got quite a few in the intermediate range, between 5 and 20. So,
All right, any other questions for Mr. Newton?
outside of that, I think that concludes all of everything that we were presenting today. Just kind of to wrap everything up, decisions that, we've got to come to a proposed millage rate. As we've discussed, we're currently at 8.5 for general, 0.9026 for the MSTU for EMS. The August 3rd meeting, we need to have a decision on that about what are we going to do for our proposed rate. Needs to be a determination on raises. Are we going to look at raises for everybody or not? So, I think that's something that you need to be considering.
What did the state do on raises?
What did the state do? The state did a wide array of things. So it's really hard to say exactly what the state did because they did different things for different areas. So the state did provide raises for some areas, but didn't for all areas. So it was kind of weird this year, the way they did it. So again, I think the board just has to make a determination. Do we look at raises? Do we look at making some cuts somewhere in order to fund the raises? We do still have the potential savings from property and casualty insurance that I'm hoping and banking on that it's going to provide some relief, and maybe we could utilize that to assist with raises.
Can y'all bring us back like a scenario if we give like a 1% versus a 2%, a $1, what it looks like, 1%, 2%, a dollar, or whatever else. Another suggestion is,
Aren't there also,
Is-
not to cut you off, but it's the same thing,
Well-
are there steps involved? Do they get a raise just because they've got another year of experience? Are there any steps
I
involved?
was trying to talk, but
We
that's
don't
okay.
currently have a step plan in place. We have
I
had,
couldn't remember if there was or there wasn't, so
We
they
have had-
don't get an automatic raise because they've been here another year.
no, there have been steps in place in the past, but due to different changes in economic,
We stopped doing that.
we stopped
I thought
doing
we
that,
had. I
and-
just wanted to make sure there weren't any other steps that were in there that we didn't know about, or I didn't know about. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead,
No.
Sharon.
So go ahead, Sharon, I'm sorry, I just.
With our departments, Mr. Crosby, how many do we have, like in each one of our departments where we, haven't hired someone yet? I'm just wondering if we should put a hiring freeze on right now since, like how many vacant, like positions do we have in the road department, animal control? I'm just throwing out different departments, library, and do we have any vacancies where we could put a hiring freeze on right now?
We only have one,
What department?
community development.
Can we put a hiring freeze on that?
We haven't hired. We're just waiting to see how the budget goes.
So we're not gonna hire, that's something we can say, don't hire that position.
Well, and that's what we're not doing right now. We're waiting to see what happens within the budget if we need to. Do we?
Well, even if we wait to see what happens within the budget, my thing is, we have this, property tax. And, I don't wanna hire somebody and the next year say, hey, we're gonna lay you off. I was wondering if we could just,
Wait till November?
wait and see what happens in November.
That's basically what we're doing. Do we need the position? Yes. Can we maybe do it with a part-time position? Yes. We actually cut that pay rate in the budget down.
I would like to see that not hired until it comes back to the board and we make that decision. Is that the consensus of the board? That way we know what,
That's what we're already doing. We're looking
okay.
at hiring.
So you'll bring that to us
So
if
when
we
get
hire
through the
somebody.
budget, we'll know whether we can hire that position or not.
Okay.
Okay, thank
So
you.
you're going to give us scenarios on raises.
we'll bring back scenarios on raises. Are there any other open issues that a board member has or wants to bring up?
Rollback rate requires just a simple majority.
Rollback is simple
If you
majority.
go to 8.5, you gotta have a super majority.
Correct. So you have to have 4 out of 5 vote for the 8.5. Basically, anything above rollback will still require 4 out of 5.
And the 8.5 would give us an additional, how much revenue this year? Was it like
An
700?
additional revenue overall was a little over $700,000. If you go to rollback, it cuts 500,000 of that.
200,000.
And rollback is what,
It's like
I would kinda like to see us go back
8.1795.
to rollback, and then you said it would be 500,000,
Yes, ma'am.
and we figure out,
I mean, so $200,000 increase, including insurance, FRS.
well, we gotta see what that looks like.
That's probably more
He's
than
talking
two.
about something that, you said, mentioned something about that we may have money from the,
Insurance.
insurance that we might could use, so we'd probably have to wait and see what that looks like also.
Well, and again, the challenge in that is that, so the proposal's been sent out. We will open those proposals August 6th. And so August 6th is just after our next workshop. I think we have one August 3rd and August 4th. So we have August 3rd and August 4th are our next meetings after tomorrow. So we won't actually know those numbers until August 6th. It does give us some time to try and figure some things out, but basically August 3rd, August 4th is our last scheduled workshop. So if we haven't gotten things figured out, at that point, we'll need to do an additional meeting, workshop to kind of figure out how we finalize everything. So we would have some potential numbers at that point for health, or not for health, but for property and casualty insurance. So again, no guarantee, but my hope is that it's going to be a decrease from our current rates and hopefully provide some savings. But, you know, that could be minor or it could be a large amount. So we won't
and
know
that'd be,
until
they
then.
would be a one-time thing too, it wouldn't be a recurring every year. So if you put that on as
Correct.
raises, or you put that on as a position, well, you gotta find it next year, because that's not gonna
Correct.
be money coming in again. That's one time we're getting the money in.
That's correct.
So,
Now, I did, in the request, I did request a multi-year lock on the rate. So there's no guarantee that they will offer that, but I'm hoping they will.
On the millage rate, I think what you have to think about too is, it's at 8.5 right now, but if we lose our property tax revenue, then you have to make some decisions of whether you go up the next year to 9.0 or whatever.
Correct.
And you know, if you go with the rollback rate, that's fine, but you may increase it a lot, 10% rather than a small margin. You may have to increase it a big margin. It
Correct.
depends on how everything votes, how everything goes, a lot of unknowns. But I think one thing to think about is if you have to increase your millage rate the next year, it may be a lot bigger if you're not careful.
Yeah.
yeah, would you rather have small increases or
Right.
a decrease and then a big increase?
Right.
So,
Yeah, you give them a break one year and
yeah,
suck it
give
to
them
them
a
the
break
next.
one year and slap them in the face the next.
That's what you gotta be careful of. Of course,
Yeah.
there's a lot of unknowns, but the thing about it is, you gotta run the county. A lot of people keeps asking, how you gonna, well, you take your income and you take your expenses and you try to make it work. That's the only thing you got
That's
to
what you
do.
have to do. Yep.
All right.
I just want to make sure any hiring we have from here till November, I want to make sure it comes before the board. Is that okay with y'all?
Between now and November? Yeah.
Until we know what's going to happen on, until we know if this thing's going to pass or not. So any positions that we need to approve those.
And it sounds like we've got one position.
We have one position advertised right now, and that's for an inmate squad leader, and we need to get that person. Because you gotta remember, when you hire an inmate squad person, they get 3 to 4 inmates. So that one person creates your work staff, increases your work staff by 3 to 4 people, which with the additional mowing, with the new buildings and just some of the additional we got going on,
How many do we have right now, inmate squads?
we have 2 at the road department, and then the Lancaster furnishes us 1. And that one's when,
And so
they're
we're
pretty
wanting another
regular.
one right now?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'd take 3 more right now if we could get them.
I mean, I would feel more comfortable if we wait and see if this thing passes in November. I don't know how y'all feel, but, there again, I hate to hire people and then lay them off.
But
It's just-
in hiring this one person, it brings us 3 or 4 people to work.
Yeah, and
You
right
know,
now-
we're not having to hire 3 people if we got inmates coming in to do this. So you can hire 3 people to get the same work done that the inmates are doing, or you can hire 1, let the inmates be the fill-in. So, you know, I'd rather hire 1 person to get 3 or 4 people working than have to hire 3 or 4 people to get the work done.
And that has been advertised, and we do have applications already for that one.
And what
And what department? Go
what
ahead.
department would that fall under?
Road.
Road.
Roads. I'd say go ahead and fill it if you can.
Well, you just get that extra force, and we need them during the summer, because grass is growing now, we're getting rain, and limbs are falling out of trees, and there's extra people help.
Well, you can't never pick the trash up. fast.
No, you can't ever get it up quick enough.
Well, they're doing work at Hart and Otter,
They
and
do work at Otter, all the precincts, all the fire stations, all the boat ramps, any county property we have.
And Commissioner, Darrell, you mentioned you went to Hart. How long did you have to wait in line to get in?
pretty good while.
Because I know somebody that went to a family reunion and they missed it because they had to wait an hour. This was about a month ago. Have y'all, looked at,
We have the equipment order.
okay, and getting those lines, you know,
When you have a point of sales program, a POS program, and that point of sales program, you have to have their equipment to be able to accept credit cards or to scan in any of the equipment. So we have that equipment ordered right now.
there's the iPad, somebody could walk around like they do, I've seen like, Chick-fil-A,
Yeah, but we gotta have that point of sales.
Okay,
thing that
right.
Chick-fil-A's holding.
Just somehow to bring them in faster because people are missing their reunions and, here they booked it and,
Well, that's a bad problem, but it's also kind of a problem where you got a lot of people paying to get in, and that's paying the bills in Hart Springs, but I do want
I know, but we need to get them in
quicker.
sooner. And I saw a lady on Facebook, I know
But we
she
went
had
back, we went back
said it
last
took her a long time also to get in.
Yeah, we went back last week, and after the last board meeting, we requested all this stuff, because we can't just order it from anywhere, it has to come from them.
Yeah, sound like we're working on
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
improving that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna meet again tomorrow afternoon.
Yes, sir, 5 o'clock.
Anything else?
At 5 o'clock.
That's all we have for today.
All right, well, we'll,
City of Trenton has a meeting here tonight,
Yes.
so if you have anything you want to leave, I'd recommend you lay it behind you.
okay. Thank you all. We'll adjourn the workshop.
Hey, Ralph.